If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
All right, Conundrum crew, we've got something special for you today, but not just special, legendary. Now, we can't give away everything just yet, but let's just say our next guest, he's got fangs in his past, scripts in his pocket, and a resume that reads like a horror fan's fever dream. Born on April 2nd, 1970, right in sunny California. He's the youngest of three in a loud, witty Jewish-Italian family, which honestly sounds like the perfect training ground for a future cult icon status. He's faced down childhood challenges, including wearing leg braces due to necrosis, but still hit the baseball fields like a tiny little action hero in orthopedic gear. Let's just say the determination started early. Trained at Beverly Hills High, earned a BFA from NYU, went out to carve a career that blends stage, screen, and oh my gosh. And seriously spooky street cred. Without giving too much away, here's what we can tell you. He's slated on screen as a certain vampire hunting icon. He's an award-winning playwright, an indie filmmaker, and the host of a killer YouTube series called Lost Locations, where he revisits some very familiar fang-filled filming spots. And let's talk co-stars for a second. He shared the scene with River Phoenix, Jason Bateman, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim, Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patrick, and Jamie Gertz, and many others. No big deal, just a regular Tuesday, right? He even went full creature feature in the 1988 remake of The Blob and held his own next to Kurt frickin' Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, and Richard Jenkins in Bone Tomahawk. He's also a husband and a proud dad, and probably the only person who could get away with grounding his kids by threatening to call David from the boardwalk. But who is this mystery guest? Well, you'll just have to stick around. So buckle up, Conundrum crew. We've got a legend in the house today. But we're just warming up because the real fun, the wild stories, and behind-the-scene tea are coming in hot.
That was awesome.
Today, we have the incredible Jamison Newlander.
Hey, Jamison, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Sure. Good to be here.
It was such an honor, and we're so happy that you took your time to do this for us.
Definitely. Total conundrum. There's no conundrum in coming on. I was just totally down.
Here at Total Conundrum, we pride ourselves on being a serious investigative podcast. We don't shy away from the tough stuff. Hard-hitting questions, the ones other shows are afraid to ask.
Which brings us to our next segment.
In your role in Bone Tomahawk, your character is tasked with sending a telegraph, but you hit a bit of a spelling issue.
So we have to ask, after all these years, did you figure out how to spell troglodyte for the telegram?
Funny. I mean, it's like troglodyte's in the script, so I knew how to spell it, but it was a funny little bit, I was happy to get that button. I felt like that was the button of the scene,
It totally was.
Troglodytes.
It's weird that ain't a quote on the internet, that one.
Right. Maybe it's coming because it's a that film's building now. I go to conventions, more and more people have seen it now.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched it just recently, and it was, Jeremy can handle the gore and stuff. I watched it with through my hands. So
it's gory stuff. I mean, for the viewers, it took me by surprise. I even knew the story, but it was like, wow, at the way they handled it, it was rough. I mean, in a great way.
Yeah, it was kind of like watching The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
There's a scene in there that gets really gory, and that was kind of like same style.
Oh, are you talking about what's his face with his Lucille bat?
Yes,
Oh my God, I cannot
Lucille.
watch that scene. I cannot.
Comes up, right?
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope. Skip.
I had nightmares after that.
Did you Yeah, I'm sensitive to that stuff, like it affects me.
I can't handle that stuff like that, But,
Right. But it's invigorating. Like that, maybe that's why people love it so much. Like you're like, what? What?
shocking, huh?
Yeah, some people I can handle watching some of that stuff, but usually it's between my fingers. So
Yeah. I mean, filming it wasn't scary at all. I mean, I wasn't in that scene, but it was never really is, I don't think, scary.
well,
Yeah, probably not.
and the makeup in that, I mean, they really looked kind of like they were undead.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. They were scary creatures. Those were scary.
Yes.
Scary creatures. I can
And the
call them.
noises that they made were even just unnerving.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, what's the next question we got?
Jamison, which of the followings do you fear the most? Vampires, werewolves, or Hollywood editions?
Let's see. Never
I think
having
I know the
encountered
answer.
real vampires or werewolves. Yeah, I think the Hollywood edition, like that could be scary stuff. I mean, as we've all seen. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I really fear it. I mean, I think that the sort of issues of Hollywood, I'm kind of mostly try to avoid them and stay in denial as much as I can.
So when you guys do the auditions now, do you just send in the same tape or is it always different?
What do you mean? You mean for the
because you guys audition through tape now, right? Or send
right?
in,
Yeah. So yeah, I just send the same tape. No, I know we have to read for the role. Like use
Oh, okay.
certain.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, the audition process, the putting it on tape, I really like that as opposed to going in the room. I always got nervous in the room, and some people really thrive in the room, in the audition room. But it's more like movie making, if you're sending in auditions on video.
Yeah.
Well, and you can perfect it a little bit more too. If you're not happy with it, delete, start over.
Yeah, totally.
You can't do that live.
You want it. You can make it like, make it what you want. You're in control a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like that better too. Let me perfect it as best I can and then send it in.
Yeah, because for me, and this is part of the reason why, like I have some nice credits and everything, but I wasn't one of those guys who was booking constantly. Like someone like I talked to my colleague, my buddy Chance Corbett, who was Laddie in the movie, and after Lost Boys, he was auditioning like 4 or 5 times a day and booking stuff constantly. And I just never really was like that. I booked stuff, but when I got in the room, I got a little nervous. I wasn't able to really command the room the way a lot of people were. So this works for me a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met Chance at Crypticon as well, and if I meet him in person again, I'm giving him all sorts of shit because he literally took my phone and he was like, "Follow me with your podcast on Instagram. I'll follow you back." He still hasn't followed us back.
Forced follow, and he never followed you back?
No.
I'll give him a hard time about it. Okay.
So he's going to get lots of shit. I mean, he recognized us throughout the weekend and stuff. Like when we were leaving when we left early on Saturday night, he, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But as we were walking out of the elevator, he, said hi to us and stuff. And he was like, "Great questions at the panel today." And so, but I don't expect him to follow. Not everybody does. I mean, you did, and we've been communicating off and on, since September to get this going and stuff. And it's been wonderful. But yeah, if I ever meet him in person again, he's going to get an earful from me.
Yeah, totally. It's probably just an oversight. I'm going to give him a hard time about it and we'll see.
You do that. All right. So the next serious hard-hitting question that we have is, please take your time on this one.
Okay.
Who, in your honest assessment, is more terrifying, David, the ominous vampire gang leader from The Lost Boys, or tax season?
I think that it's a close one.
It is a close one, but yeah. Obviously, it's got to be tax season. Come on.
Yeah, tax season can be scary, man. That could be scary.
Yeah.
But David's scary. Like, when he's like, "You're dead meat," after that, that was scary stuff,
Yeah.
But
Kiefer's
I don't think
a very intimidating person.
What?
Kiefer's a very intimidating person.
Yeah.
I mean, he can really give off that aura.
And he was, in person too. I didn't see him that much. I only saw him a couple times on set because we were in different scenes mostly, but very intense guy, very, very intense. It's got a lot of stuff going on in that head.
I
It's all
really
about
liked
getting the scene done.
right.
Yeah.
I liked that movie, or not movie. It was a TV series that he did with autism. His son having autism.
Isn't that
I can't think.
24 or something? Or is that a different
I
show?
didn't watch 24, but is it 24 that does the son have autism in that? Is it that
I
one?
can't remember if it's 24 or
Designated
if it's
Survivor?
something. I can't remember, but he really showed a softer side in that.
Really, I should really see that. So I love Kiefer. I think he's such a good actor, and he made so much of that Lost Boys role. Like, it was a cool role and everything, but he brought so much depth to it and so much complexity to it. Even, so subtly complex. It was really cool. I'd love to see him do something more
Yeah,
serious.
I'll have to look. If I can find it, I'll send it to you in a
I think
message.
everything he's in, he's kind of just
He has a
awesome.
yeah,
He
a little
nails
bit.
it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's kind of nice to see that more softer, compassionate, but yet he fights for his son. And so,
Yeah, I saw Kiefer for the first time. I mean, really, only one time in adult life I've really seen him, and that's in 2019 in Manchester. We did a convention, and I saw him, and he was just the nicest guy. I only talked to him for a few minutes, but just the nicest guy, and really happy to reconnect with me and stuff. It's like, I didn't know that Kiefer really thought of me, that much. I mean, I'm in the same movie with him, but he's got a lot of other things going on. But it was really nice. It's really great to connect. Really nice guy.
well, and they were quite a bit older. What, 5 or 6 years older than you guys?
Yeah, like there was a definite difference between the older crowd, the vampires, the cool vampire crowd, and the Frog Brothers. I mean, Corey Haim merged the two. He went between the two. He got to party with the vampires a little bit, and got close with them. But it really wasn't until adult life that I kind of got to hang with those guys that much. I wasn't partying like they were. I was like
Right.
kind of like learning my lines and freaking out about making sure I got it right. So there was that difference.
Shifting gears slightly, let's talk leadership. If Alan Frog were to run for president of the United States, what would the campaign slogan be? And does he have a running mate or just a sharpened wood stake and a copy of Monster Squad?
I love it.
I told
let's
you,
see.
they're
I think
stupid
that the,
questions.
I think that the slogan would be "Kill your brother, you'll feel better." Yeah.
I kind of figured that would be.
And you know what? I think it would be really interesting for the Frog Brothers to run together as a team, as running mates. So I think Alan was. I like to sort of like reinvent it all and feel like Alan was the lead frog, even though it was obviously Feldman, obviously Edgar was the lead frog, But I like to think that I was like the silent leader in the back, And so that's
you're
what
like the bouncer guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I kind of feel like that would be our campaign together. Would be like, he'd be out there, taking the questions, making some mistakes, whatever, and I'd just come in and just be like matter of fact and lay down the law. Kind of stuff.
I love it. I love it. But I think in your campaign videos, you got to bring on the Frog Sisters.
Oh yeah, the Frog Sisters. So you saw that video.
Was classic.
I love doing that, and I love looking back at that sometimes. The funny thing about that. So first of all, it was this right there. Like they've been talking about doing the Frog Sisters for a long time. With like Lost Girls. I don't know if you had heard about that, but even back since like '87, like after the movie came out, I remember meeting with Joel and well, that's not true. Then he wanted to bring us back, but then at some point it became the Lost Girls and Frog Sisters and so I said to Feldman, I was like, let's do an audition as the Frog Sisters, and I was sort of like, we'll do, and he was like, cool, come on, let's do it, like let's do it now, and so we just did it, we got these wigs and
it is so good. For those of you, for our listeners, if you go out, I think it's on Corey's YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They have the Frog Sisters audition, and it is epic. You have to watch it. And Corey, he actually makes one hell of a girl.
He was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant because, it's like none of it's scripted. We're like, let's try it. And I tell you, that Feldman, he is so creative on the spot like that, and he was so funny, I thought. And then he's so great.
You guys did a really, really good job on it. I was laughing my ass off.
That's good.
And actually, I think, Jeremy,
definitely funny.
You found that video, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he sent it over to me and I was laughing hysterically.
It was good. It's like, let's have some fun with it, because it's like, oh, people were always asking me like, if they make it the Frog Sisters, would you support it? It's like, sure, whatever you want to do, it's the franchise, doesn't belong to me. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. But yeah, if you want to do the Frog Sisters, go for it, but we're here. We'll make some fun of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I know at one point you had talked about in different podcasts that I listened to that you were trying to get like kind of like a Cobra Kai type version of the Frog Brothers. Is that still something that you guys are working on?
Yeah, it's like we ran into some obstacles. I mean, I see they're flipping into walking there. It comes when I'm not trying. So yeah, we ran into some obstacles because I thought it was going to be like people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and a lot of people did, but the decision makers, it just takes a lot of effort, a lot of like meetings and trying to get someone interested, someone to champion it, and then we like had someone who was into it, and then there's a big shakeup in Warner Brothers, when Discovery took over, and so now it's like it's been kind of like finding another executive who's willing to champion it. And it seems like a no-brainer. It seems like a no-brainer to the fans. Everyone I talk to, is like, oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. And so, we're still trying to do it. I have other projects that are kind of taken more front and center stage. I would love for that thing to go. Jason Patrick has been interested in helping make it happen, because.
Well, and if anything, I know Cobra Kai started on YouTube. If anything, started on YouTube, and then because Cobra Kai is now on Netflix and stuff, so
yeah,
started on YouTube, and
that's not a bad idea to just do it.
Yeah,
that's a good idea, because it's like that's what Hollywood needs. It's like or it's not just Hollywood, but like the public, like got to just kind of put it out there, create it, build it, and they will come.
Right. iPhones have come a long way too. I mean, you can make hell of a good movie on iPhones now. So
yeah, totally. The Lost Locations, that the YouTube show, it's all on the iPhone.
Yeah. That's a really fun, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit too. But we've been having a lot of fun watching that and seeing all of the.
Yeah, we keep waiting for new episodes though.
Yeah, we're moving slowly because it's like we have no real budget, and it hasn't caught on the way I was hoping it would catch on at first. I mean, I do think it will catch on, but it's taking time. It's also taking, how social media is. Maybe you guys are good at it, but I'm not yet good at it. I'm figuring it out. In terms of like getting viewers, reaching that outside audience and stuff.
Right.
My YouTube channel does not have very many subscribers, and
yeah, we've been struggling with that too.
Right?
Yeah, we're learning too.
Yeah, we were definitely learning. But then we've got our 17-year-old nephew, 17-year-old nephew,
yeah,
starts a YouTube channel, and within 2 months he's blowing up. I'm like, come on.
Kids, is it because he's a kid, or
he does videos of like snowmobiles and stuff and snowmobile crashes, and
so now
people like that.
Yeah, when they've got videos of them snowmobiling in like Michigan and Colorado and whatever. But I'm like looking at his videos, and I'm like, this was just posted last week, and it's got 50,000 views. I'm like, how?
Like, where's my 50,000 views? Yeah,
right.
Like I'll get maybe like if I do a video with like Jason Patrick or whatever, I'll get like maybe 10,000 or something like that. But that's I don't usually get that kind of, and I don't know how to get 50,000 or 1 million. I mean, like.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, I did. I think you saw. I created a video announcing that you were going to be on the show, and I also put on there with your Lost Locations, and I put the link to your YouTube. So
nice. So that'll
hopefully our listeners will keep sharing that video. I have it pinned on our Instagram page, so go out there and share that so we can boost up some views for Jamison on that.
Love it. Yeah. Everybody. Get it around because it's a cool show, and like I feel like I'm doing some cool stuff that people want to see.
Well, and I love that you guys found your dad from Lost Boys.
Cool, yeah.
That was cool, and you were teaching him how to sign autographs, and
yeah, that was really neat. Back then first of all, I mean, I didn't realize that I thought they were like hippies from like the hippie compounds nearby, because in Santa Cruz at the time they were real hippie compounds, like they were compounds or hippie. What do you call them? I don't know. Groups.
I think compounds.
Yeah.
A good
Yeah,
word.
compound. I think hippie compounds. Yeah, they were dressed like the hippies. Like from the '60s. It wasn't that long after the '60s and '70s. It was only mid '80s at that point. But he was just sort of a guy. I think he was just a local guy and could dress up like that. But they were so nice. They were so very kind of parental with me. We
Right.
touched on in the show a little bit.
Well, and you even have you went to the sax player's show. He's
Yeah,
still performing,
amazing show.
and
Still, yeah.
it's totally epic that he had such a minor part in that movie, but he is so remembered too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so trippy. I mean, hats off to Schumacher, and I mean, of course, to Tim also but it's like just to like take this concert scene and turn it into this epic thing where he's, this greased up sax guy, and it was so good too. The song was so good, it just got you,
Yeah.
really rocking.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of song, I mentioned that to you in chat. Jeremy reached out to G,
Oh
and
yeah.
we're trying to see if we can get permission to be able to play a little bit of Cry Little Sister on this episode.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
fingers
that's gonna
crossed.
happen.
Doesn't sound like it's gonna happen.
I reached out to one place and yeah, it's pretty expensive. And then you get the license for like a certain duration of time. So basically, the longest that they'll like lease it is for like 3 years or whatever.
Is that through a third party or is that through the?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was that one company that I went through.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that he replied on Instagram to Jeremy. He said he was going to check with his manager or management team or something.
Yeah,
to
to see if
see.
it's possible.
Yeah. And ever since then, I've had the song in my head like constantly, like an earworm.
Then we asked him if he wanted to come on the podcast, and I think then he went radio silence.
Really? 'Cause I would think he would want to. He likes,
Well, it's only been a
G's
few
a really
days.
fun guy.
Yeah, he was on your Lost Locations as well, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, did you like that in that scene? You're like, I really like challenged him a little bit on what his song was about.
Yes.
He got a little defensive.
Was he there at Crypticon 2024?
I don't think he was at that one.
V.
Neil was there.
Yeah, Viva's there.
I don't think G was there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was there.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if I seen him there or if I seen him in one of your videos.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused, but
Well,
I
and
was
it's
like, I swear I seen that guy at Crypticon, and I was like, I didn't know who he was.
So it's possible. I feel like I would remember, but these cons kind of run into each other a bit. For me.
Yeah.
And we've been watching so much content and listening to so much. It's all kind of melding together too. We wanted to make sure we had all the ins and outs.
Yeah, you guys really did the research. I really respect that.
Oh, of course. We love doing that. That's part of podcasting is making sure, especially when you're doing true crime and paranormal. Paranormal, you can only do, it's, what he said, she said, it's, what's true, what's not true. True crime, you really want to make sure you have all your facts. So you really got to have those research tools sharpened up. And so we love doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool
and
shirt,
then
by
I
the
was
way.
going to say something. What's that?
Noticing the Frog Brothers shirt.
Oh yeah.
She got one too.
Yeah, I had it on earlier, but I was like, I decided to change because I was cold. But we actually ordered the one from your shop too, but it didn't come yet.
Oh, really?
The sleeveless one, the green army colored.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna order that one, but
Airborne.
It didn't come yet.
It didn't come yet. Oh, bummer. Okay.
No, so we'll have to make sure we save that one for the next time you're at a con, so you can sign that one for Jeremy. All right, so on to the next topic, which often reveals more about a person than any resume ever could. In the event of a karaoke night, hypothetically speaking, of course, what song would Alan Frog perform to rally the crowd?
Wow, Alan Frog doing karaoke. Let me think about this. You stumped me on this. So the first one I was thinking of is like "Hit Me with Your Best Shot," something like that.
That's my go-to.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah, and it's like for Alan Frog to be doing it, but I feel like there's an even better one. Like
I think it is actually pretty fitting for Alan Frog.
Right. It's like,
"Hit me with your best shot."
Yeah.
Fire away.
Because he's bold, Alan's
yeah.
bold. He's like, doesn't care about the unafraid. Although that's not true. We did get afraid in the bath. the basketball.
As you should have.
Yeah. Is that so? Your go-to is "Hit Me with Your Best Shot"? That's your
That is
karaoke.
one of my favorite ones.
Nice.
That and Total Eclipse.
Nice. So both are those. It's sort of similar, but they're not. It's not the same artist. It's like
No.
I think Total Eclipse
Bonnie
is
Tyler.
Bonnie Tyler,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
I love that song.
So a
Power
follow-up
ballad.
question.
Yeah.
What song would Jamison Newlander personally choose to bring the house down at Crypticon 2024?
Okay, so Crypticon being in, so my go-tos on the karaoke, it changes, but Sweet Child of Mine for a while was my go-to.
Okay.
And another one, Bites the Dust. Those are the, just like good, because I can also get that like, like,
Yeah.
you like that, kind of thing. But these days I'm doing more cheesy stuff like I Want It That Way. I've been singing that in karaoke.
Okay.
And Backstreet Boys, and also Free Fallin'. Little Tom Petty.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Well, and I believe
that
go
night
ahead.
at Crypticon, didn't you sing Friends in Low Places?
Oh yeah, Friends in Low Places.
Okay.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
And
go
then I
ahead.
also sang Jesse's Girl.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so those are good ones. Friends in Low Places, I love. People, I thought everybody knew that song, but not everybody knows that song. But I love to sing it. It's just so.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
It's just it's an icon song, you know. But yeah, I would think more people would know it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we like we had said before, Crypticon last year in September, that's where we actually met Jamison. And after Crypticon was over, people were posting videos and pictures and stuff like that. And we saw the video of you singing Friends in Low Places on Friday night and the party upstairs, which we ended up only making it maybe an hour up there because it was so hot.
Yeah, it was.
And there
really.
were so many people. And so we went back to the room, and then we realized after the fact how much we missed out on. But anyway, I'm going to kind of, give our little meet cute story with Jamison, whether he remembers or not. But the first day before anything was really started or anything, we were just kind of wandering around, and we went to the elevator to try to get back up to our room. And I was pressing the elevator button and it wouldn't light up. And this kid that was standing next to me was like, if you hit it, it's going to come. I said, if the light's not on, it's not coming. And so I was like just being funny, and I kept pressing the button. And here Jamison walks up, and unfortunately, I didn't recognize you. Jeremy did. And so anyway, you came up and you're like, oh, I figured this out. You got to hit it in the top right corner. And you hit it up there, and it lit right up.
Yeah.
And then we get in the elevator, go to our room, and Jeremy's like, that was Jamison Newlander. I'm like, no way. I'm horrible at recognizing people. I mean, Patrick Swayze could have probably walked up to me at one point, and I would probably not even, it's like I don't put two and two together. It's like people are people. I don't, I'm not I'm from Minnesota. I don't look for celebrities,
Right.
But anyway, we go up to the room. He tells me, and then we went down and did autographs shortly after. And that's when we went to your booth, introduced ourselves and stuff. And we kept running into you in the elevator all weekend.
Running into everybody.
A lot of people.
Crazy.
Well, most people were walking around pretty freely. The only people that were kind of walking around with an entourage were the Nightmare on Elm Street crew.
Oh, yeah.
They had their little entourage kind of, protecting them or whatever.
That's what's fun about that. That's one of the things that's fun about those conventions is that like we all mixing, we're staying at the hotel and, see people at the tables or on the panels and stuff like that. But we also just, you run into each other in the hotel or, and like we kind of got to know each other a little, right? We saw each other a few times in the elevator and stuff. And so, that's the fun part. It's sort of like, when Brooke McCarter and Corey Haim were alive, and we did cons with them. That's kind of where it all started. They were just so, the party was them. They knew how to party. They knew how to they were just having a blast, and everybody, so that's kind of where that I think comes from, is that these cons are just like a good opportunity to party with everybody,
Right. And that's what, it was a lot of fun seeing that everybody, it just goes to show you, because as much as people, may have fame or, celebrities or whatever, you're just regular people too, you know?
Yeah.
And Saturday we ended up, well, Friday night we pooped out because of the heat. So we missed out, didn't even know there was karaoke upstairs or anything. Then Saturday we were kind of pooped. It was a hot day and the air at that hotel was just, there was so many people. I just don't think the air could keep up with it. And Saturday night around 2:00 in the morning, we were just like, let's just go sleep in our own bed. So we packed everything up. We go down in the elevator. We come out and there's Chance and I cannot remember the guy that played Baltazar and really tall guy, bald.
Yeah, I'm picturing that guy. I can't remember.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But anyway, they were standing at the elevator when we came out. Chance remembered me from the panel and complimented me on the questions that I asked. And then we walking through the lobby. You're sitting there partying with a bunch of people, and Jeremy and I are looking at each other. We're like, are we making the right decision? We already left our keys in the room. So we're like, next year, we're going to make sure we stay. So we got our tickets
but we
purchased.
Probably won't, we'll get tired.
Yeah. And also that was like by chance that we were, literally by chance, because Chance was with us, but also just, that we were out there partying, you never know. We could have, next year if we're there, I mean, I think we won't be at that one this year, but you could run into us again and we could be the ones that are crashing on Saturday night.
Right.
But sometimes you party too much on Friday and then Saturday you're just like, I don't have anything left,
Well, on Friday too, it was all free drinks, but unfortunately they were all sweet drinks too. And the sweet drinks give you that hangover.
Right. And make you tired. And
yes. But yeah, so Crypticon 2024, we had a blast, met Jamison, and so can't wait until you guys do another con that's close to us. But now we're going to kind of go into our next little topic. So I have to ask, because this is like totally the crossover episode that I never knew we needed. But you and Corey Feldman did some ghost hunting together for his YouTube channel. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Was it spooky, chaotic, hilarious, all of the above?
Yeah.
And most importantly, did the ghost recognize you as the Frog Brothers?
So, okay. So it's this funny thing where, we showed up at, where were we? It was that was near Gettysburg, I think. We did a con near Gettysburg. And oh yeah, that's right. Because it was the house of the woman who died, what was her name? Jenny Wade.
There you go.
Jenny Wade.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so, they were like, I there and they were like, hey, come ghost hunting with us. It would be really cool. See if you can get Feldman, you guys would be awesome to do, ghost hunting with the Frog Brothers. And so I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. That sounds awesome. And so I looped Feldman in and he was down for it. I was, sort of surprised how much he was down for it, but he, I think he's kind of wanting to do that sort of stuff anyway. And so, and then I just kept going to the back.
You got possessed by the demon.
That was like my justification of it. I was like, well, she was cooking bread and I sort of sensitive to, gluten and everything. So that's probably what it was. But I don't know. I just think, I mean, and, it could have been that. I mean, the ghost coming back and haunting my stomach, but it's also like, we were flying that day and, it was like systems all kind of out of whack and everything. And it's just like, I don't know when the last time is you've been in that situation where like, there's nothing you can do. You have to head back to the bathroom. Like there's nothing, and it was terrible because I was like, here I am. I looped Feldman in. I wanted to make this cool thing, and then I'm just, not present at all for it, but they were good sports about it, but I feel like, and then we weren't even going to make it an episode. It was really Will Fredericks who, hangs out with us a bit and he's producing the Lost Locations show. He was recording it and Feldman was recording it. And then, it was kind of after the fact that it was like, we could make a little episode out of this. And I was like, make an episode, but I wasn't involved in it all. He was like, no, we'll make that into a it'll be a joke, it'll be like a
Yeah.
funny thing.
It was kind of a running joke, wasn't it? Because I mean,
Yeah,
it kind of went on for like 5 episodes.
yeah. And so, so there's that piece of it. But then also, I was skeptical. I'm skeptical. You guys do ghost hunting,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so I'm
I
skeptical
am
because I
too.
think like, you can make anything sound. You'd be like, oh, that's really, we do this and we make contact with a ghost. So, but then they were talking to us. Somehow they were talking to us. And it was like, there I was being skeptical, but it was really, something was really happening. They were somehow really responding. It was really, and so I'm not as skeptical, but I still am because there's possibility for like denial. Like, did that really happen? Or did they set it up? Do people who do ghost hunting have ways of like setting it up to make it seem like they're ghosts, but they didn't seem like the kind of people that would do that, so, and
Most paranormal investigators, other than some unnamed ones that like to really
Always a
blow
bad apple.
things up for TV. Most average paranormal investigators, they try to debunk everything. They really do.
Right, that makes sense.
If you're going with a good crew, then they're going to try to debunk everything. And Jeremy is a very big skeptic. I'm more
Right.
of a believer. I grew up in a very old farmhouse and had a lot of stuff happen when I was a kid that I just, I still to this day, I'm like, was it just my overactive kid imagination? But there were so many people that had experiences in that same house too. And I've had things happen otherwise. And we actually rented out a Airbnb in Illinois that is supposedly haunted. And Jeremy stayed there himself all through the day. He was in the basement by himself. Yeah, he took a nap. But what was really funny is we have some ghost hunting equipment. And so we brought it all with us. And Jeremy and it took him a while to get me to go down into the basement. And I went down to the basement. We shut all the lights off, did some recording. We did the REM pod, which is the box that has the antenna. And if they touch it, it makes a loud beep noise. And I was recording that Q&A session in the basement, and we came upstairs and we set the REM pod up on the grand piano. And I was showing the video to somebody that was there with us. And we had a Ring camera in the living room that was recording. We had a Ring camera in every room so if anything happened when we weren't there.
Smart.
Well, anyway, I'm playing this video and I'm asking, whoever's in the basement, if you can touch it to let us know you're here. And as I'm asking these questions on the video, the REM pod in the living room is reacting to my questions on the video. Wow. And it's answering the same way, going off and on. I'm like, okay, thank you. Can you walk away? Can you stop touching it? And it would turn off. I'm like, okay, can you touch it again? And it would turn back on. The crazy thing is on the Ring camera, when I watched the video of that, I had asked, I'm like, can you tell in the video? I said, can you tell me your name? And you don't hear anything on my recording on my phone, but on the recording of the Ring video, you hear this like almost like a demonic "Mrah," like something's trying to answer to what it is. I haven't been able to debunk it yet. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. Wow. But I couldn't sleep at that place. It was like once everybody went to bed, I was like staring, eyes going back and forth. I'm like, what are we doing? We're sleeping in this house that's supposed to be haunted. What are we doing?
Right.
I slept like a baby.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you see anything that you felt like was as a skeptic?
Well, yeah, I mean the one thing that I did find curious is we were recording in this it was kind of an upstairs living room area.
Yeah.
And I'm just recording her doing something. I can't remember what it was, but all of a sudden this ball of light started floating and it kind of went up towards the ceiling and then it came back down towards Tracy's head. Yeah. And then it kind of shot back towards me. And I was like, what in the heck is that?
It was crazy.
That sounds pretty scary.
Yeah,
pretty
that
crazy.
was, I'm not going to say it's a ghost though, but.
Well, yeah, it's like,
it
it's
was
hard to
something.
tell. I mean, for us skeptics,
Yeah.
like,
it is.
I mean, and also, I mean, have you seen, like in life, there's just there's a bunch of things where it's like, it could be coincidence, but it just doesn't seem like it. It seems like there's something going on And I don't know, ghosts necessarily or precognition or whatever. I mean, like, as an example, I was telling someone this the other day that, so I worked with George Clooney when I was a kid in a play. And, since then, of course, like, he's gotten huge and I'm not really in touch with him, but maybe about 10 years ago, I had a dream that I saw him. And 2 days later, I saw him and I said, hi, like,
Isn't that
like,
crazy?
yeah. And it's like stuff like that. It's like, it could be a coincidence, but it sure doesn't seem like it. It seems like there's something going on that this reality that we see, that I think I'm convinced of, this reality that we see. I do forget that because I'm also a pragmatist, but like that this reality that we see is not the full story somehow. There's something else going on. There's something, we're connected in ways that we don't fully grasp, that we can't really explain. And we're connected to people who, the undead or the dead or people who've passed, in ways that I just
maybe
can't.
it's like the Matrix.
Yeah, or different
Yeah,
timelines.
Maybe we're stuck in the Matrix.
Yeah, maybe. Well, like I think it was like the collective consciousness, that somehow we're all part of this consciousness that we can kind of tap into, but we take our own individual perspectives seriously. We feel like that's us, and so we might lose touch with being in touch with the collective, something like that. That's the best thing I can kind of come up with.
Yeah, it's all very interesting, and that's part of the reason. When doing the podcast and stuff, I like to help spread the word, to make victims known, their stories known, and the researching and learning about all this stuff and making you more aware in your own life. But I am really into the true crime, the paranormal, the unexplained, all of that stuff too. So that's why when we decided to do this, we wanted to do a little bit of both, because honestly, you can only handle so much true crime too before it drives you mad. And so you have a little bit of fun with the paranormal. And I've learned so much in the time frame that we've been doing this. And Jeremy's actually got me to go out on a couple investigations now, where the first time we went out, we went to just a graveyard. It was dark. It was, he said that he saw somebody standing off in the, corner of the graveyard or by the road or something. And I'm like, I'm going back to the truck. So we've gotten into it a little bit more. We've bought a little bit of equipment here and there. We've interviewed some local people in Minnesota that are part of the TAPS team, which is like Jason Haas. He kind of overruns that whole TAPS. Well, each city or each state has their own TAPS team that's underneath Jason Haas. Ghost Hunters. Isn't that the name of their show?
TAPS.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they have a TV show as well. I can't think of the other guy's name. I'm horrible at names. So
that's where I am too. I'm not good at names, but I'm good at faces. Like we were talking about that earlier about like you can't connect. But like me, I connect faces pretty well, but I'll ask people like 9 times for their name.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the same. Jeremy, he's so funny. We'll be watching a movie and he's like, oh, that's so-and-so. That's so-and-so. And I'm like, looking at it and I'm like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, I do that too. Like in Breaking Bad, did you watch Breaking Bad?
I never got into Breaking Bad.
But one of the guys who's actually my 16-year-old's favorite character in it. I was like, I remember that guy. He was the guy in Beverly Hills Cop. He was the thug in Beverly Hills Cop, and I was right. I looked and it was right. So I have a talent for that.
Yeah, Jeremy does too. I mean, every show we watch or movie, he's always like, oh, they're in da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like,
right.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
cool, right? I mean, to be able to see that.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it, but
Oh, I don't either. You've got an amazing memory like that. Well, so if you're ever interested, I have an in to the David Omen, the Omen House.
Oh, really? The Omen House?
Yeah, David Omen. I met him on doing a collab on another podcast, and he said that if anytime anybody wants to come out, and that house is supposedly pretty active. And when we were doing a recording with him on this collab, he had stuff going on in the background while we were doing a live recording. So, but there's some pretty cool places in Minnesota too, and we could probably get the Minnesota Taps, or Dave Schrader is also from Minnesota, so we could try to reach out to him too. Those guys are some pretty big ones in the paranormal. And if you and Corey want to come out and try take 2, and hopefully you don't have the stomach demons this time, we would love to join you guys.
You know what? We would. Corey and I, part of how that one came about is that Corey and I were talking about doing something, because we're the Frog Brothers, and we wouldn't do it as the Frog Brothers, but it's still
Right.
part of the deal. That it would be cool that if we were doing, that we went out, and I think we even pitched a show like that, and they didn't go for it, but maybe this is the way to do it. Team up with, actually go out on some more. That's what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just I had to go to the bathroom constantly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that if you guys are gonna do more of those, because
Yeah.
I'd
I'm
definitely
totally
watch
down
it.
with it. Getting Feldman to do it, he wants to do it, but it's always a little trickier because his schedule's a little trickier, and he also requires money. I mean, I can kind of do things a little for like, no money or very little money sometimes. But Feldman really, because he's so kind of in demand, so that makes it a little more challenging because I don't know that there's like tons of money up front in these kinds of things.
Is that a SAG thing? That some require money, some don't.
I'm not exactly clear at the moment on where SAG's jurisdiction is in all this. I think when we're playing ourselves, there's a gray area, but I should really look into that. I don't want to piss off SAG.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious on that.
Because it's like I do
'cause-
podcasts a bunch, and I don't, I don't know that that's governed by SAG. I hope it's not. I don't think.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if maybe that's why that skit, you didn't really want to do because of SAG or something. Because
It's not that you're talking about the walk-in thing.
yeah,
No, I just, it's
it
funny.
seems like some actors will tell you that they can't do something because SAG requires a payment or something, or
Interesting,
so
yeah.
I've always been curious on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I should get clear on what SAG says, but no, for me, it's more like I was getting it ready this morning, and I was like, I just couldn't key into it. I couldn't key into walk-in, and I was like, it's weird because like I do a good walk-in, but it's not. Some people really can just come right out of the gate and nail walk-in, Christopher Walken, and for me, it like takes a little bit to like gear up and stuff. So I just got a little bit nervous, and I was also looking for this wig because if I'm gonna do, I just feel like if I could get a good walk-in wig, like a white,
Yeah.
So I was playing. I have some wigs around here, like from my kids, like school projects or whatever. And I was trying to make it into the walk-in wig, and it just wasn't working. And I was like, maybe it's not meant to be.
That's what I was telling her too. I was like, that script's more for just audio. It ain't really. If we're doing a video, it'd be better if he had like a wig on. And
yeah, totally. I mean, I'm even down for like, following this up with like, maybe I'll find a wig and we can do that another time, and you can sort of like add it to it or whatever. Leave a blank space.
Check with SAG first before you do it.
Yeah, there you go. Give me the chance.
We don't want to get you in trouble or anything.
For our listeners, Jeremy had wrote up a little bit, having Jamison play Christopher Walken, and we got that off of Jamison you don't do the podcast anymore, right?
We don't do that one, no.
Yeah. Okay,
Jamison
so
Newlander,
he had a podcast. It was Jamison Newlander and some other guy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that was a bit that they did in one of their shows, and it was really funny. So Jeremy
really
wrote
funny.
up a little bit last minute, and we kind of threw it at Jamison, and we decided to just table it for now. We'll see if we can revisit it later.
Yeah, let's see if we can revisit it. I do want to do it. I do love that stuff.
Yeah, I've been practicing walking a little bit, and I think I've gotten pretty good at the part that I've learned.
Oh yeah, let's
hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah, let's hear it.
Wow. That's it.
No, you had another part that you did too.
Yeah, I'm not doing that one. That is not even good. Not even remotely.
I thought it was.
The wow, it's the closest thing I have to a walking.
See, like I can, like even like if I say wow in life, I could sometimes sound like walking. Sometimes people say I sound like walking because it's it's like people rely on when in doing walking, they rely on that lilt, that he has like so that kind of thing. But there's also another element to the walking where it's like he gets so serious and he's whispering. That it's like I want to include that piece of it too. It's like telling a story. I mean, it's just
well, that's such a big thing about acting too. Is you got to take on like in all of the roles that you've done, there's so many different personalities and different, you've just got to totally reinvent yourself each time.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too, and maybe you experience this because you do a little walk in. I don't know if you do impressions, but it's like the that it's like you have to. It's this weird thing where you become them for a second, like you're not just imitating them. You actually channel them, channel their energy for a second, which is just really kind of weird. And I've talked to other people about it when they do it, like someone like Chance Corbett does a really good impression of Billy Worth.
Okay.
Billy Worth from Lost Boys. Did
Yeah.
a great impression of him. Like we rib each other, we give each other a hard time. And I asked him, I was like, do you know what I'm talking about and he was like, no, I know what you mean. You have to think like them for a second. You like click into their thought process. It's weird.
Yeah.
Did you feel that when you were doing your wow?
No. I didn't pick up anything. I'll never be an actor. Yeah. Never.
I can't do impersonations either.
But
I have a hard enough time with the English language.
But for me, just doing it is fun.
Yeah, there you go. And it's like we actors, we're all so anxious to embody something else. It comes from our hangups, probably like, we like erase our personality and try to, want to key in like vampires in a way. Like it is kind of like vampires now that I think about it. Where you want to suck their blood, you want to take their life. You don't want to take it.
Yeah.
You want to live it a little bit.
Right. Well, and that's how a lot of actors have gotten down deep holes too.
Sure.
Getting into that dark mentality for those roles that they have a hard time getting out of it.
Yeah. Someone asked me about that recently about, like what happens to all those roles? What happens to all those characters? Do you have to like get rid of it or do you have to move on, whatever? And I was sort of saying that like, I don't know that you get rid of it. I think I'll get emotional thinking about it. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but that these things become a part of us. That all of these things that we do. Again, I don't get why. Sometimes I get emotional about this kind of stuff. Because acting is so it's almost religious for me. Like it's
right.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah, the ritual of imitating life. There's something about it that's so core for me, and so I don't know that these characters ever go away. I think that they're in us.
Well, and I have to say, when I watch Lost Boys and I see you as that young 16-year-old, you know who you really remind me of? A young Ralph Macchio.
Yeah. I've gotten that before.
Huh? Did I say it wrong?
Macchio.
Macchio. Oh my God. See, I told you I struggle with the English language. But no, you have a lot of the same, you guys have a lot of the same look, the characteristics, the personality that you had as Alan Frog, kind of him coming off as trying to be, trying to be macho. That's where I was going with it in the role.
Yeah. No, I do see that, and people have said that before about Macchio, and I wish I kind of keyed into that at the time. Maybe I would have gotten some roles as like Macchio's brother, like we could have been brothers or something like that. Because I do see it. That and also who was on Grey's Anatomy, McDreamy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Why can't I
I'm horrible at names.
Anyway, I mean, so those two, I think I was somewhere in between those two.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
he was in like Can't Buy Me Love in the 80s. Brian, something like that.
Yeah,
easy enough to look up.
Actor names are not my forte either. So in your acting journey, can you share a little bit with us about your whole journey? What inspired you, how you began to get into it with acting professionally, and maybe relive those iconic AT&T and Pearl Vision commercials?
Yeah, totally. So acting for me, like, one of the things that I keyed into lately is that it was different for me than it was for Feldman and Haim, and everybody's journey is different. For me, it was like I was just this kid. I was this kid in LA. Little by little, 7th and 8th grade, people started to get agents. Like I had a crush on this girl and she had an agent, and I started being like, an agent. Wow, that sounds so cool. I want an agent. I want to go on auditions. They would leave school early to go on auditions. And so I wanted to do it, but I was a little awkward at that age. I was a little bit, just kind of still a kid, whatever. And then there was this little transformation that happened around like 8th, 9th grade where all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, the Italian stuff coming out in me a little bit, that quarter Italian that I have, but like I started to be kind of a little better looking and a little more like, you could put me on film. It was like I wasn't quite as awkward. I could hold the screen a little bit, And so my mom was dating this actor. His name was John, and he was like, I love this guy. He was so awesome. He was just like dynamic, and whenever you talk to him, he had all these great ideas. And so, we got to know him, and my mom got to know his agent a little bit. And so I went into his agent, and apparently she liked me. I just talked to my mom about this recently. She liked me, but I couldn't tell that because she was like, yeah, you gotta open your eyes. I have like kind of a droopy eye thing. I don't know if it's obvious, but like, if I'm not really engaged, my eyes will be pretty closed. And so I really have to engage to get my eyes, and that's how I learned, is that actually, if you really look at stuff, that's how I can engage my eyes. I can't, I tried this for a while, like, open my eyes. So, and it just doesn't work. You just look crazy, but if you really look at stuff. So I started to key into that a little bit. And I took a commercial class. I went on one commercial audition that was so embarrassing. I don't know what I was doing. And then I took a commercial class, and all of a sudden I kind of got the hang of it a little bit, came right out, booked a commercial right after that class. And it just set the tone. I had a little bit of money. Those commercials like paid really well. I mean, they still pay well, but at the time, like for a kid, I made like, I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 on that, on that commercial. And so, at that age, at 14, we weren't wealthy, like we weren't poor, but we were just regular family, And so all of a sudden to have that money. And so I was playing on their money, like I was playing on the town's money, on Hollywood's money. I didn't have to shell out for pictures, that was all that it paid for, all that stuff, headshots and classes and this and that. So it made it really like possible to do it, that little thing. And so, I booked some things, and it seemed like ages between the jobs that I booked. But if you look back on it, I was working a little bit regularly, and I worked with Jason Bateman, like, as you mentioned earlier, I was on the Valerie show, and I worked with River Phoenix. I did a day on a movie of the week with River Phoenix. And, I really had a blast. I was starting to like, casting directors were starting to know who I was, and it was really great. And then Lost Boys was, this brought everything to a whole new level. It was like this, all of a sudden I was, and that's how it happens, really. It's like you look at actors, even like, a big actor like Giancarlo Esposito. I just heard that before he got the role of Fring on Breaking Bad, he was like, thought his career was over, and this is Giancarlo Esposito, who's done a lot of stuff, and there's no reason why he would think his career is over, except that that's how it goes. You think you're, so I kind of thought, I didn't necessarily know that Lost Boys was coming, and I was like, am I just making money for college, and that's fine and everything. And then Lost Boys hits, and it's a different category. I'm even, it's not just a day I'm working with River Phoenix or a week I'm working with Jason Bateman, but I'm working all summer long with the Coreys and with these people, who are awesome actors, and I'm in the big time, kind of. So that was really cool. That was really exciting. And, from there,
what a fun location too.
Oh yeah, you mean like
the
Santa
location
Cruz?
of Lost Boys? What a fun place to have, spend your summer.
Yeah, it was incredible. It because Santa Cruz was, I mean, having just been there, I'm going there a bunch because of that show, because of my podcast, my YouTube show. And it's like, there's a magic to Santa Cruz. And it's not just the weather. The weather's beautiful, but there's something to it. And
it's the vibe in the town.
Right. There's a vibe, right? Have you guys been to Santa Cruz? Yeah. It's like, there's a vibe.
I have.
Yeah. Right. You haven't been? Yeah. I recommend it. I still can't wrap my head around what it is exactly. It's that vibe. I don't know, but there's something really magical about it. And so, getting to spend that time there.
I thought Hollywood was magical until I went there. And I was like, oh, you got about a block of magic, and then the rest is whoa.
Oh yeah, totally. Hollywood. I mean, now again, Hollywood cleaned up a bit the last like 10 years or so, but now again, it's getting kind of rough. And back then, I wasn't allowed to go to Hollywood. Like Hollywood was scary. It was like there were parts, that were cool or that reminded you of the fact that you were in Hollywood, but I mean, even the Walk of Fame and the stuff, that's a little seedy. It's a little bit, it's a little dirty and
It
stuff.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where we went
Yeah.
down there, and
yeah,
we got attacked by Wookiees demanding that
right.
we
Yeah,
pay them to take a picture.
yeah. I mean,
And
did you
then you
get like
got all the
pressure in
people
you? It's like,
flipping their CDs and trying to give you CDs and
yeah, it's a little bit like, okay, so this is Hollywood, because it's not really Hollywood. I mean, that's Hollywood, but it's not Hollywood. That's the sort of,
Yeah.
Hollywood is really, more like Hollywood really exists more in like Beverly Hills, the West Side, the Valley. That's really
Okay.
where these things really, the studios are in the Valley. There's some studios in Hollywood. And again, now it's a little cleaner than it was, even though it's going south again. But
So
there was a stretch where, where like, a house in Hollywood, used to be like these, it's same thing all over LA, like these houses that were like, they're just little houses, then they're going for like $3 million, like $2 or $3 million or something like that. And it's kind of crazy. It gets sort of crazy. And so for a little while, it was kind of well to do Hollywood. But it's gotten
right.
a little rough again.
yeah.
Yeah, the real estate in Hollywood or California compared to Minnesota, you could get one hell of a nice house in Minnesota
Yeah,
for
that's
what
what
you
I hear,
pay for
considering it.
nothing or pay a lot in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, I have a townhouse, and if I sold this townhouse, I could probably get a nice house most other places. Not, I mean, now the market is still, in a city, it's still going to be pretty intense, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess that's sort of the dream, is like you have a house, and then you downsize, and then you can pay cash for a house somewhere else. I don't know.
Right. Well, I envy the California. I would love Jeremy lived in California for a little while.
Is that
I've
right?
only
How
been
long?
there once.
Yeah, I lived in Salinas, so I
Oh
was
yeah,
only about 20 minutes away from Santa Cruz and stuff. So I used to
yeah.
go there a lot.
Nice. You hung out on. Do you surf?
No, I don't surf. No. I mean,
'Cause that's what
I
I think.
grew up in Minnesota and I just spent a few years out there.
Gotcha.
So
Surf. Minnesota's probably not a huge surfing town, is my guess.
no, not at all.
Probably one of the
Yeah.
only states other than you go to Canada that you can have 70 degrees one day and then it'll be negative.
Yeah,
It'll be
snowing the
70
next.
and sunny and beautiful, and then it'll be negative 20 and storm. You'll have a thunderstorm in between there, and then you'll have a blizzard all in the same 24-hour period.
Yeah, I hear that about that.
It's crazy here. One year we had a tornado in March, and then the next day or so we had a blizzard. It was crazy.
Wow. Let me ask you something about tornadoes, as long as we're on the subject. Like, just I've never experienced it at all. The closest I got was I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and the sky turned green. They were like, "That's what happens," and like so there was a tornado watch. That's the closest I got. But is it scary? It must be so scary.
When they get close, they're scary. I mean, they're destructive.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I've never been in one myself, and I've been here for 48 years, pretty much.
I've had some close ones. We had one when I was growing up, one that came through the field across the street from us, and we had a neighbor's pole barn from probably a quarter of a mile away. Their tin was wrapped around our trees and stuff.
Wow.
So, but other than that, I've lived in towns that have had them, but I've never had it happen like to my home personally.
Yeah, I think a scarier thing, honestly, though, is I also lived in Florida for a while.
Uh-huh.
And I was in Hurricane Katrina, which is the one that devastated Louisiana. Yeah, it was only a Category 1 when it flew over us or went through us. So I was out. We just moved down there at that time, and I was outside walking around in the thing. And then the next hurricane that came through was a Category 3 for us. It scared the hell out of me. Yeah, I instantly moved back to Minnesota.
Wow, that's scary. That gets you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
You were
like
without
hurricanes.
power for how long too?
Well, and that's the worst thing. Yeah, we were without power for like a month on Katrina, and then a month and a half for the next one.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
You have a generator or what?
Oh, they must have been in an apartment.
Yeah, we didn't have one, but they get the businesses up and going first. So we were only like a block and a half from the main drag. So all the businesses were up and like maybe 2 or 3 days. But for some reason, yeah, all the houses, it took a month and a half to get them up.
Wow.
So
That's wild. See, that's something I didn't hear about. Like that long without electricity. I mean, God, that must be so
I'll
tricky.
never move back to Florida.
I have a hard time when we lose power for a couple hours. I'm like
Yeah.
lost. I'm like, no computer, no internet, no nothing.
But yeah, I never really experienced an earthquake either when I was in California.
I was going to ask
There
you about
was
that.
one that hit Hollister Hills when I was down there, but I never felt anything.
Yeah, I've been in a bunch of earthquakes, but never anything. I mean, knock on wood. Everyone says the big one's coming, but it's scary. But it's only been just scary a little bit. I've never been in a really destructive one.
Okay.
I've never experienced a earthquake.
Yeah, I mean, the scary. I mean, it's scary. Like, so when you had the earthquake, you didn't even feel it. You said, right? Is that right?
No.
You read about that it happened. When you get
Yep.
up to like 5.0s, above that, 5, 6, it shakes and it's scary. I mean, it shakes your core. I mean, it shakes you to your core. And then afterwards, your knees are still shaking. And you're like, is it still shaking? I don't know.
Yeah, see, I'd probably move back to Minnesota after that too. So,
Yeah. I mean, it can be empowering because if you have an earthquake and then like nothing, so far there's been, you get in a doorway or something like that, because they say to get in the doorways, I don't know if you know that story, that's like the most
secure.
most secure.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but then you finish it, you almost feel like you're strong, like you feel like you're invincible. There's a little bit of that,
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like
not a
you figure-
vampire hunter though, dude.
yeah.
I'm moving.
Well, I think pretty much anywhere where you live, there's something. I mean, Minnesota, the air is so cold, it hurts your face, hurts you to breathe.
Right, it's cold
You
up
got the
there.
hurricanes, you got the earthquakes. It's there's not really and then if you move to the center, then you're in Tornado Alley. So
Yeah, that's it really bad down there.
yeah. And then my son, he lived in Hawaii for a while. He had not only the earthquakes, but he had the volcanoes.
Yeah, the volcanoes, right? And then they had a big hurricane there, didn't they? A few years
Yeah,
ago.
they did. That was I think the last year that he lived there.
Yeah, not to mention the fires, like wiped out all of like the town of
Maui and
Lahaina,
stuff.
which
Yeah.
I had my honeymoon on Maui. So
Yeah, we were supposed to get married in Hawaii, but we never made it there. Everybody got mad because
Yeah,
we were doing a
get married in our
destination.
backyard.
Did a destination wedding. Or we were going to do that, but we did it in our backyard instead. So
that's good. That's what we
Which-
should have done. We should have just gotten married in the backyard. We had a big
It was
wedding.
awesome. We built our own backdrop and everything.
Yeah.
and
Really? That's
it,
cool.
it was pretty fancy, actually.
yeah,
we
it
had
ended up turning out really well.
we had a truck bring in a bunch of sand and stuff, so we made a beach in our backyard.
We did our
Wow,
beach
nice.
wedding in our backyard.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
actually awesome.
How long have you guys been married?
14 years.
We met in
2010. Yeah, so
we
this
met
will
in
be 15.
Yeah.
Right around when
Yeah.
Corey Haim died. I mean, not too
Yeah.
connected to that. But.
Yeah. So with your role as Alan Frog in The Lost Boys, it totally became iconic. What was your experience auditioning for that film? And with it being such a horror classic, I mean, it is a horror movie, but yet it's not in the same too.
Right.
And,
It's more of a
how was it
comedy.
working alongside Corey, the Coreys, with that?
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, we've talked about this a bunch of it on panels. Like, Jason Patrick just said this on a panel we were on that it was it's a comedy, that it's more of a comedy coming of age movie, and that the horror piece of it is, but at the same time, like it's really that beach scene where the campfire scene where it becomes really, where you're just like, wow, oh man, what's he gotten himself into here, So the audition process was like, let me see if I can capture it in almost a new way. Like, so, being just this regular kid that I was, this regular kid who was working, starting to work as an actor, it was cool. I was kind of in a groove. I had reached a good place in my kind of early career where I was cocky. I was auditioning a bunch. As I said, I thought I was on one level, your career might have been over, because you never know when that next job is going to come. But at the same time, I had a bit of a groove, and so when I went in there to audition, my agent had pulled something cool where it was a callback. I wasn't on the original audition, but so it was a callback. But they, I knew the casting director, and my agent was, pretty, a smooth talker and everything. So they got me in. And so, but it was kind of magical from the beginning because I knew Schumacher. I mean, I didn't know him, but he was my he was friends with my acting teacher, and so he spoke at my acting class. And so, to have that connection right away with someone as an actor, especially as a kid actor, I just was like willing any little thing to like stand out. You're on the spot there. You're just you, and they're making these big decisions about whether you're, I mean, if I didn't get Lost Boys, I don't think my life would have been a failure. I'm sure I would have had other things, but it would have been different. I wouldn't have been Alan Frog, And so these decisions that they make and these auditions that are just seem like this, thing, and you go in and you try to have a good time and you try to impress them. That's a big deal. Your life goes one way or another for each one of those roles. All the roles I auditioned for, sitcoms, movies, things like that. You get one of those and you all of a sudden you're in a different category, as what happened with Lost Boys. And so there's all this pressure. And at the same time, you're a kid and you're trying not to let the pressure get to you. And, you're just, so it's this combination of like nerves, but also it's invigorating and, and everything. So it was a really good audition. It was a really successful audition. I had, I talked to, I had some good rapport with Joel. I think I mentioned on another podcast, like I was like, he asked if I'm built up, if I had, because he needed the Frog Brothers to be, to be strong and, military, like,
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, punch me, go ahead and punch me, which was just, it's like whatever you can do, whatever you can do to stand out, and so, and he was just great. And he did, he punched him and he was, careful about it, but he was like, yeah, cool, And so, that in itself was awesome. Next time I come back, I'm in the lobby, I'm in the waiting room and with this kid. Again, this is going to make me emotional, just because it's this is also the beginning of my relationship with Feldman. He's a good friend
Right.
now, And so I meet this kid and we're talking and, what have you done? Like there's always the question, and he was like, oh, I was just in Goonies. I was like, oh, really? You have a big part in Goonies? And he was like, yeah, pretty big part. I played Mouth. It's like, oh man, okay. Okay, so this is where we are.
Yeah.
And it's like, he enjoyed I think he enjoyed the fact that I wasn't starstruck. Really, I was trying to just be, I was in high school. I was 16 or 15, going on 16, just trying to be this kid, trying to be tough, kind of thing. And I think he appreciated that. I wasn't trying to kiss his ass or anything. And we just got on really well. We joked and we were hanging out and, we were sort of like good friends somewhat immediately. And part of that is Feldman. I mean, part of it's both of us. We're both like that. But Feldman was like that. Part of the reason you get to be a big star like Feldman at that age is that he was, he was just natural. He was just himself, looking to have a good time,
Right.
And so it was that piece of it, as I look back on it, was really kind of magical, And so it was complicated after that. Feldman was cast right away because it was Feldman, and they knew that they wanted him in it. They just wanted to make sure he could be right for it. For me, they were nervous. They were a little nervous because, it's like I have a thing where acting on film, and I'm even realizing this even more now than then. Acting on film, there's a stillness that you have to do. You have to be able to be still because the audience has to be able to, the camera has to be able to capture you. And I can move around a bit. Like I can be a little more like, how you might be in life, talking and, things like that. So that, and the characters were tough and I didn't, it wasn't like natural to key into that they were tough in a very still kind of way, that Alan Frog was tough in a very still kind of way. And so I think they were nervous. They were nervous. And I think maybe I was a little bit too much in the audition. I was a little bit like trying to be too mean or too tough or whatever. And so like a month went by. It was a long time. And I just thought it was over. I thought, I thought I didn't get this part, Yeah, I get emotional about it because it's hard. It's 15 years old, that thing I was talking about your life going one way or another,
Right.
there's a lot of pressure. And it's like, it's similar to the kind of pressure I might feel at school where, taking a test and is that going to be, am I going to get into a good college, kind of thing. So there was that pressure, and I was really bummed out for a little bit that I didn't get the part. And then they called. They had seen everybody in the world, everybody in the
Yeah.
country. They'd gone to New York and seen all the New York actors, and that was a thing back then. Going to New York and getting those actors that were on stage, those really awesome actors from New York. And so they went to New York. They didn't find what they were looking for, and so they saw everybody. They saw everybody in L.A. and they were still nervous about me, but they were like, "Come in." And so I went in and I kind of learned those lessons. I think they communicated that to me. Joel knew my acting teacher, so he was like, "Have your acting teacher work with you on being really calm." Being so I did, and it worked. And right then he said, "I got it." Like, I went out of the room and Joel said to Corey, "Who do you like of all the people we've seen? Who do you like?" And he was like, I have this rapport with Jamison. I liked it. Or Jamie. They called me Jamie back then.
Yeah.
Joel was like, so I was out in the lobby, kind of like knowing it went well, knowing they're talking about me, not sure what was going to be. And I came back in and he was like, "Congratulations, dude. You got the part." And
Wow.
it was a dream come true.
Well,
It was
yeah.
all the parts, all the different parts that I had auditioned for. It was, I got some good parts. But it was nothing like this. This was a real role, a real arc to this guy.
Well, and the one thing I've heard you talk about before too is you decided you came in dressed in your dad's army jacket,
Yeah,
and they
yes.
pulled that into your role.
Yeah. So it's like they kind of were like beginning to key into that these guys were these military kids. But I don't think it was fully developed yet. And so I came in, they said military, military tough, but clean cut. They didn't want me to be, come in. I've done that before in auditions. I did that before where they wanted me to be tough. And I turned that into like, he's a street kid, and so, and that might have worked for that, but they wanted to make sure this was clean cut. So I took that, I wore a nice clean white shirt underneath it, which they did in the movie too, that outfit. And yeah, and I wore that, and it was such a cool. I used to wear that anyway. I used to wear my dad's military stuff just because I just thought it was cool. And so I was used to wearing it and had those dice on the sleeve, and it just was such a cool thing. And so that helped. I think it helped get the part. It helped them visualize the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I can't remember if we discussed this on the podcast already or before we started recording, but we ordered Jeremy one of the, is it
Oh,
Air
yeah,
Force? Is that what it says on the front of it?
The airborne
Yeah.
shirt.
Airborne.
Yeah.
The sleeveless.
The thing about that is that I was looking for that shirt, and last year I was like, what? Like, it was like I could find it like with like $90 at like some UK shop, and I was like, I'm not gonna pay $90 for this shirt. And so I just decided to design it. It's not like, it doesn't say Lost Boys on it. It's not,
Right.
it there might be like some copyright from the US military, that I'm sort of infringing on, but I was like, I'm just gonna create it. So I just created the shirt, and now it's on my Shopify site for anybody
Yeah,
to
well,
get.
I'll definitely put a link to that in our show notes. And then I ordered Jeremy and I both Frog Brothers t-shirts to wear today. Jeremy's got his on.
Yeah,
I
I
got too
dig it.
cold, so I put a sweater on.
Nice. Is yours the same one?
Mine
Yeah,
is the
she's
same,
got
yeah.
the same one.
I was looking for
Cool.
sweatshirts because it's only 40 here today. And so
40 is
our
warm.
recording studio is out in our garage, and we have just separate rooms, little, I don't know how big they are, 8x10 rooms or whatever that Jeremy
8x8.
built. 8x8.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets a little chilly. Sometimes they get hot. You never really know. But normally you're pretty good in a light sweatshirt. But I couldn't get sweatshirts before we recorded. So
Well, that's good to know. Maybe I'll put a sweatshirt out there on my Shopify site.
Yeah, that'd be
yeah,
nice. We'll buy it.
definitely. Yeah, for
okay.
sure.
There's this one thing that I'm excited about, and it's only just starting, but that I'm putting together this one-man show about that period of time, about calling it Summer of '86.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like the stories, somewhat like the stuff I was talking about audition, about kind of being a regular kid and auditioning and then meeting Feldman. then the experience of filming it, and then what happened afterwards, which is different, So something as I'm getting into it and exploring those stories, it's all kind of coming up again in a cool way, kind of remembering all this stuff. And I just think that that's going to be a cool thing, a one-man show about that period of time,
Definitely.
And like from my perspective too, because my perspective is very different from Feldman or Haim or, any of those guys, because those guys, came, I mean, some of them were new like me, but a lot of them were pedigree. I mean, Kiefer and Jason, has his dad was the guy in what's his name in Exorcist? He's the priest in Exorcist, Jason
Oh,
Patrick.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
didn't
didn't
even
know
know that.
I just found out that out recently. Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
That
that's
is
wild.
wild.
Yeah. Like to have that kind of connection that Jason Patrick, the like lead of Lost Boys is
Yeah,
is the son of the one of the leads of Exorcist, it's pretty trippy, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
that's
So it's
really
like, I
cool.
don't have that perspective. I didn't come from Hollywood. I came from, my parents, we're not exactly working class. Like, we weren't blue collar exactly. They're sort of white collar, but it was somewhere close, pale blue collar.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that's something to, to bring up. It's something I'm working on, and probably by the end of this year, I'll have it ready and begin to start showing it. I'm really excited about it.
I wish you all the success for it. And we'll fly out and watch it. That's for sure.
That sounds good. I might even, because there's going to be a time where I'm going to like put a few, things on video to get some opinions. Maybe I'll toss some ideas your way and see if get a little preview
for
of what
sure.
I'm doing. And,
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
the stuff up in Santa Cruz is heating up too, that because we're approaching the 40th. Next year will be the 40th anniversary of the filming in Santa Cruz, which we could celebrate, and then the next year will be the 40th anniversary of the release. And
Okay.
so, because I'm doing this show, the Lost Locations show, I'm spending time up in Santa Cruz, and I'm realizing that there's opportunity up there for us to. A lot of people come to Santa Cruz looking for Lost Boys stuff, and there's no real curating of it. There's
Yeah.
no, you can go see Joe Ferraro at the comic book store, and he's got a lot of cool stuff, a lot of good stories, and you can find the stuff, but it's not. I feel like for as much as people love this movie and love Santa Cruz, you can't come to Santa Cruz and have it be really, there for you.
I loved the idea of you guys trying to do something with the clubhouse.
Right. Yes. That's on the sort of agenda. I mean, Jason Patrick is very interested in, he even, I think, pitched it to the people who did the Brady House in the San Fernando Valley in LA. And so they actually created the inside to look like the Brady House, even though the inside was on a soundstage. And in order to do it, they had to like dig, it's like impossible to make it look that way based on the house. But they did it, So Jason pitched those guys to do the same thing with Poganip, with Grandpa's house.
Okay.
And they weren't into it, but I don't know why.
Oh, that would be epic.
Would that be great?
You would get so much traffic.
That's what I think. And I think, like, just imagine this, and I don't know if this could happen, but like all of us with like wheelbarrows with our shirts off, all of us rebuilding that house together. Like, how fun would that be?
Oh, it would be. And then you could host stuff, your own little cons and stuff out there, and meet and greets and
yeah,
whatever. You could even have get his liquor license and have a bar, bar area, and then just do special appearances now and there. I mean, that place would be hopping.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. The liquor license thing, that's a new idea.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to make money doing it? It's like, that's always the question, so that's a good way.
Get people drunk, they'll spend more money.
Yeah, but then you got to deal with drunks.
Wow. Lost Boy fans
Bouncers.
are responsible, right?
Yeah, they are. They're good people. Good people.
That's right.
They know how to party, but they're good people.
That's right. They know how to party the right way. But yeah, with that and doing that Lost Locations, and that is so fun. I have loved watching all of your videos on YouTube with that, and the fans seem to really love it. And doing that signing at the comic book store and stuff like that, that really brought in, a lot of fun people.
Do you have any plans of doing that again at the comic book store?
Yeah, so June 13th we're not sure, but based on timing and when they normally do it, that it looks like June 13th this year is when they're going to do the showing on the beach of Lost Boys that they do that every year. And so I'm gonna go back there then. I'm gonna do a signing meet and greet at the comic book store on Thursday, and then I'll do a same kind of thing I did last year at the boardwalk, where just basically signing and meet and greet before the movie. And so that's really cool. And because now I'm starting to like have a presence in the town a little bit and know people and stuff. It's starting to build a little bit. And it's this year the hotel is getting involved. The hotel where we stayed in Lost Boys, which was a Holiday Inn back then. It was sort of a regular kind of like now it's called the Paradox, and it's actually a really nice hotel. And so I'm going to stay there. They're actually comping me a room that week.
Nice.
And I think what we want to do is, and the hotel's down for this too, is like nobody knows that. Very few people know that that's the hotel. But there's no reason why people shouldn't know that. That's where all those epic parties happened. That's where like the Lost Boys would come back from filming and party all night. So and we have pictures. We have pictures of cast parties at the pool. And different things. I have a picture of Chance checking in, sitting at the front desk. And so we want to like present them with these pictures and have there be like something there, like a lobby art or something like that says like, right? I mean, it seems to make sense. And that maybe we can actually pull some more tourism into the town, into the hotel,
Right. So, that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we'll have to try to make it down there and visit that, because
that'd be great.
When I lived in California, I didn't actually know the movie was filmed in Santa Cruz. So, I don't know when they put that placard up of Haim and stuff, but I didn't know.
That was pretty recent.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, I think all that stuff, in the last couple of years that they did that.
Well, and
I'd like to see that. I haven't been there in probably 20 years now.
Wow, yeah.
I recommend that one episode of Lost Locations, you even had G. I don't know how to say his first name. I know he goes by G. The person who wrote and sang "Cry Little Sister."
Yeah,
you had him in one of the shows too.
Yeah, it's like G. I love G. G's like when we were starting to do conventions, it was like, okay, yeah, the song is really a huge character in the movie. This song, and it's such a big part of the movie. So he started coming out on the convention scene with us, and God, he's such a great guy, such a nice guy. And so talented. He usually plays Cry Little Sister, or he has current music too that he's writing and stuff. He's an amazing guy. And what I like about to like plug the show a little bit, like I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to like put him on the spot, but I was like, I kind of asked him questions that I just felt like not everybody's going to ask him. Like
right.
Like I wanted to know what the song was about for him. And, because I kind of figured out, and, you see this, you probably remember this from the show. It's like, for me, I figured out what it's about. And it turns out that that's not what it's about for him. And he was almost offended. He wasn't offended. It was, it was friendly, but he got a little bit like, no, that's not what the song's about.
Well, and that's what it is with music and film and everything. It's everybody can interpret it their own way. I can listen to a song, and you and Jeremy could listen to a song, and we'll have 3 totally different interpretations of what it means to us.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that happens a lot when you talk to musicians, and you assume the song is about one thing because it seems obvious, and it turns out for them it's about something completely different.
Right.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of them will just say, "Well, how did it make you feel?"
Right.
Yeah. I should ask you guys your opinion on this, because I've been meaning to do this. Now it's like so long, and I can't believe nobody's done it yet. But I was thinking about putting together a little book of scripts that you can film, like 2-3 minute little scripts, because people are into this kind of stuff. And having been, with my kids, like on a weekend, I was like, hey, let's shoot a little movie, but you really need a script, and so it's like you sit down and write the script, but I don't have that kind of like forethought, and I assume most other people don't have as much, don't maybe have a little more than me, but you know what I mean? So I think that'd be kind of a cool idea, like maybe 10 scripts that you could film easily on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually talked about doing something like that.
Really?
we're kind of going to make like a stage, and then change screens. And it was kind of going to be, have you ever seen Will Arnett's show, I think it's called Murderville?
It's called what?
Murderville?
I don't know if I saw that one. I mean, I see him in so much these days, or hear
It's
him.
just kind of like an off the cuff, totally, what do you call that? Improv.
Yes. So he'll take a mystery guest and bring him on the show. He actually had Conan O'Brien on one of them, and
that Conan.
Yeah, so basically Will's playing a detective, and he goes around and tries to solve this murder mystery or whatever, and so Conan's like the assistant detective or whatever, and
wow, that's great.
Yeah, he has no lines or nothing, it's all, his part is all improv, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I applaud people that can do improv. I mean, you totally have to be like on constantly.
Yeah. Improv is, some people are like, I can do it when I'm in a group, but it also is like, I've done it before where it's like you're self-conscious, you get a little self-conscious and you just can't do it. You got to just kind of like roll, let it fly and fall on your face, kind of. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think sometimes I could be on and other times I'd just be like a deer in the headlights. What? Wait.
Exactly.
But no, I heard you talk about that on another podcast, how you talked about it, 'cause that way, like when kids get together and they want to do something fun, they can just grab their phones and then kind of play off of the scripts that you have created in these books. I think that is a really, really fun idea.
I guess I don't even remember.
It might have been, I heard, maybe it could have been at Crypticon or something. I don't know. We listened to so many different things that you had done, and we talked to you at Crypticon quite a bit too. So it might have been there as well. But I do remember you bringing that up because you had said that, you and your kids like to do stuff like that. And it would be fun to publish something that so kids can just grab it and, hey, let's make a movie. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And with Amazon now, I mean, a lot of people are able to put some great things out there because you can self-publish. You don't have to go through all of the money of having a publisher and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did it I started it with a good friend of mine, and we came up with something cool, but I'm not sure. I think I need to do it slightly different. It's like we came up with kind of a series, like a series with short episodes, which is also kind of cool. It was kind of like not quite Doctor Who, but it was like a space series. It was called.
Well, and you could also do like a choose your own adventure.
Your Mr. Metabolism?
Oh yeah, Metabolism. It's funny. It's the same collaborator. It's the same collaborator as that guy.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Awesome. But you could also do it like a choose your own adventure type thing. If you want to do this, then you could have this outcome. If you want this, you could have this outcome.
You're right, actually. You're right. Because you can just be like, just have the different versions in the script, and then the people can just shoot their version, or you can be like, and then have a page with a question mark, like, what do you, or whatever,
Or you can do like YouTube lives or something, and then have the people in the chat room kind of direct how they want you to play it out, or, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
That would be very interactive. People would love that.
That's kind of what I was thinking for our thing back in the day when we were, kind of thinking about doing it. But then Murderville came out and I was like, yeah, now I don't want to do it.
But yeah, there's so many fun. I mean, the world has changed so much with technology and interaction and all of that. So there's so much different things that you can do now and really put stuff out there. And it's kind of, in some senses, it's kind of scary, but in other senses, it's fun. It's adventurous. And
right. And it's like, you can really, the average person can get involved in this stuff in ways that we really couldn't. I mean, when I say we, because I'm both an average person and also, in Hollywood, but it's like, there was always this barrier between like being able to actually make a movie or, and there's really not anymore.
No, there's not. I mean, you have a lot of people that are, doing these, we have a lot of indie podcasts, you have a lot of indie filmmakers. And I was just watching, somebody followed us on Instagram recently and they're doing and I can't think of the name of the movie, but I was watching the trailer that they're making and it's a totally self-funded movie. and it's about a serial killer who's obsessed with dinosaurs, basically. And I was like, what? But the trailer that they made, I was like, the concept sounded really weird, but the trailer was amazing. I'm like, this is somebody just funding this and doing it themselves.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
there's a lot of
crazy.
people doing that. It's like the Goonies trailer that's out there. It's phenomenal, and it looks like, man, I would totally watch that. But unfortunately, it's not real.
Oh,
Right.
there's a fake Goonies trailer out there?
Yeah.
No, I got to see that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, there's a ton of people that thought, oh my God, they're doing a remake of the Goonies.
Right.
They
Right.
have it as like, all the kids now are adults and their kids are going around adventuring. And I mean,
Is it with the
it's a great trailer.
Is it with the original guys as the parents?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun. So they all got together to do that. That's pretty brilliant.
No, it's fake.
Oh, it's fake.
Oh, you
Somebody
mean
made it up.
Yeah,
Like,
because somebody asked
so it's not a
Feldman,
video,
and
it's
he
just
was like, "No, we're not doing no remake." So AI
That's
is amazing, but
So
yet
somebody
scary.
spoofed it.
Yeah,
wow. And they put it
Yeah.
together. They put the video together with AI.
yeah, and it looks legit. Like you
Oh,
couldn't
man.
tell it didn't come out of a big movie production.
I got to see that. I got to go take a look at that.
If you can't find it, I'm sure Jeremy can find it for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can.
Did you come across my wiki soap? My wiki soap stuff?
I when I was doing a lot of research on you, I came across, I wasn't sure what it was, but then I looked into it. It was you were doing like soap opera scripts or something, right?
Yeah. So the idea with that, and this is something I still want to do, but I didn't handle it quite right when I did it then. It's like that we shoot a little pilot, and in this case, it was this 8-minute pilot. I would do more like a 1 or 2 minute pilot, maybe 2 minute, and each character has like signature things that they wear. The lead guy wears a Hawaiian shirt, that's like his sort of costume. And then, his wife wears a red dress and, maybe always red dress and red lipstick. And so anybody can play those characters. You just put on those outfits, because it's like with James Bond. I mean, we buy that different actors play the same character.
Right.
So you can, and then I had this little site. I really created this. I mean, I got a designer to do it, where any scene that's up there, you could post a prequel or a sequel to that scene. So, and then once your scene is up there, anybody can post a prequel or a sequel to your scene. And so what I was hoping is that it would just kind of grow that way, where, and it becomes this community created soap opera where you think these characters should do this, do it, shoot it.
Oh, that is awesome. We
Wouldn't that be
kind
cool?
of did the same concept with with a podcast story,
Really?
but not with video.
Yeah, we had like 15 different podcasts all join in. So we started the story. We wrote the first part. And then each podcast after that was supposed to write their own section.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out really good.
Yeah, so it was like a progressive story. So if you go out to our podcast and look for search for Willowbrook, we all collaboratively wrote this story, and then Jeremy put all the sound effects and editing, and it turned out really good.
And then what did you do? How did you do it, or did you do it in AI or what?
No, we just did it in audio.
Yeah. Oh, I see audio. That's good.
Yep,
that's
just
good.
audio.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, most of our stuff is audio.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it was so fun. And then everybody reads their own part. So we start off reading ours, and then the next podcast will come pick up where we left off. And then like each person will leave off on like a cliffhanger, and then the next podcast picked up. And so it was really fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But yeah, so we've done a few fun collabs kind of in the same concept, but I love the video, like having somebody like pick up off of the script and do a video with the same kind of, costume idea. That is wonderful. But yeah, I did come across that wiki, and I think there's even a wiki, isn't it on Instagram too, a wiki account that you had?
I think either on Twitter or Facebook, I had
one of the two. Yeah, I remember coming across it.
Yeah, and if you look on YouTube, you can see the pilot. It's like an 8-minute pilot. You can find it on my YouTube channel. You can put, It's on my. I'm pretty sure it's on my YouTube channel. I mean, it is definitely somewhere on my YouTube channel. But
We'll check it out.
yeah,
That sounds really fun.
it'd be cool, right? Because I mean, it's like and I think the other key to doing it, first of all, is yeah, having the shorter episode, but also I need to really partner with like maybe 4 like either theater companies or acting classes or something like that to get it started. To be like, you guys just go to town. I don't even want to know what you're gonna do. Just come up with great stuff, and you guys come up with great stuff, and then maybe it starts bouncing off each other, and then so maybe that's the way to do it.
That's
I
very
got a million
fun.
ideas.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then even if you had people, at home play off of it, create like people at home to be able to interact with it. Say, okay, we're going to do a spin-off. We're going to have a little sequel to this. This is the storyline. This is what you're going to wear. And then have people submit videos to you, keeping, with the storyline going.
Yeah, sure.
You'll get a
Well,
lot
what do
of,
you mean? You mean submitting to me?
yeah, submitting them to you or to whoever's putting it together. So it'd be like a big surprise for you or whatever. But you start off the main scene, kind of do like a progressive story like we did with Willowbrook, but make it a progressive video series. And you start off the main storyline, give everybody what they should wear, what characters they are, and then they play off, and just kind of make it progressive.
Yeah.
Just kind of a fun idea to include the fans in it because fans love
Well,
interacting.
yeah, I mean, I think the fans should do it. I'm trying to cut myself out of the I want them to just
Oh,
be
I
able to
see.
post, like so
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
get those 4 groups to do it, but at the same time anybody can do it. It's just that people don't know about it yet, so they have to watch these guys sort of do it, and then you just post. You just post. You just like you see it, you
Oh,
see a scene,
yeah,
you're like,
perfect.
let me do a sequel to that, and you want the guy to kill someone else. I mean, it's still you have to reconcile. Different groups may do different stuff, but you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds
Yeah,
really
no,
cool.
that would be awesome. That would be it. Just, create a page for it and then everybody can submit it and then they can put together the story however they want. Yeah. You and Corey have such a chemistry. Was it quite the trio when you guys were together? Did
It
you
really
have that
was,
chemistry
yeah.
with the 3 of you?
Yeah, it really was. We had a lot of fun together, me and the 2 Coreys. Before they were the 2 Coreys, we were just Corey and Corey. And then on set too. I mean, there's a couple of pictures that I came across that I put out there. That's like on my Shopify site. I have like a coaster with this picture on it and a shirt with this picture on it, where it's us just horsing around. It was probably like just before a take or something like that, and we're just karate kicking each other. We're just kids. We're all about 15. I had just turned 16. I think Haim was still 14, but about to, kind of thing. We were really close in age, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, and it
And then,
seemed like the chemistry, you can see it on the movie too. And I know you were a part of doing stuff in the future. I mean, I know you did that show, The Tale of Two Coreys, and but you had quite the different life that they did. I mean, they kind of went into the partying scene and then you didn't go into that where we end up losing a lot of young actors, the drugs and alcohol, and it's such a tragedy that that happens. And I can't imagine how that affected you being so close with him for that period of time. And I mean, River Phoenix, you got Corey Haim, and not just to name a couple that you worked with that unfortunately, succumb to their demons.
yeah, it's the thing about it is that part of the reason it's this kind of mixed thing where if I really did not understand how to party, or like, I didn't understand what the concept of party, at the time. I was really young in that way. Like I wasn't at school. I didn't go out on weeknights. Like, on weekends I would go see a movie maybe with, friends, or try to get into some sort of like, I don't know, whatever. We actually play ditch, in the middle of the night sometimes, like go to a park and play like, stuff like that, and get donuts, trying to find something fun to do kind of thing, but I didn't really know how to party. And it's a two-edged sword. I mean, or it's a two-sided thing where I would have done better in my career, I think, at the time, if I was out there partying, which is interesting because maybe it also would have been, the end of me too.
Right.
There's this story that I don't think I was telling you guys, but it's been on my mind lately that like there was a time where I went out with Corey and we went back to Haim's place, and it's like my girlfriend was there, or this woman I was dating at the time was there, or woman, girl, she was my age, but it's like we were just having a good time and everything like that. But and then they wanted to go to Club Hollywood. And so, and it was like, I had a car, and so I was one of the people with the car, and so I drove him to Club Hollywood, and I was supposed to park and then come in, and I was just like, I don't know, I just took off. I mean, Haim went in, he was happy to go, and he wasn't worried about me, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. First of all, Hollywood, on a Saturday night, trying to park, it's like I could spend a lot of money or whatever, but that factor, just like I don't know what to do here. But also, I just didn't know how to party in that way. And so, it's this thing where I do think it kind of hurt me in my career, but at the same time, like I feel grateful that I didn't go that way.
Right.
Yeah. I
Right.
think
It
I
would have been
would
great
too.
to navigate it well, but who knows if I would have done that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like you can't, if you go back and change time, what's it going to affect in the future?
Right. Right. And I mean, River was, I mean, it was all of them are tragic. River, I've done a movie of the week with him.
Yep.
In '85, and it was I was sure that we had a really nice, the kind of the chemistry that I had with the Coreys. I had similar chemistry with River because he's a great kid. He was just a great kid.
Yeah.
And so I was sure that we were going to work together again. We were a really good team in that, we just had that one scene together, but I thought a really good team. And I was like, I'm going to work, with him again, and then to lose him, and it's sort of when Haim died, it was reminiscent of that too, because I was looking forward to doing cool movies with Haim now that he was back, and now that I was back and he was back, so, it's all those sort of kind of subtle ways that those losses affect us.
Well, and you and Corey actually both auditioned for, I know it had a different name. Was it The Body, which
Yeah,
became
yeah,
Stand
that's
By
right.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I auditioned for Feldman's role in The Body. That was my first feature film audition, which was just
Oh,
a really exciting kind of thing because I was auditioning for like commercials and maybe a little part on a sitcom, and at the time TV was like the stepchild. It was like I mean, it was like they were doing some cool stuff on TV, but it wasn't you wanted that feature film career,
Right.
like and so I got this feature film audition, and it was The Body, and it was like, oh wow, it's a Stephen King story and everything like that, and it's like it was my first big audition like that, and I was like in the just overthinking it. I mean, doing my best, but like there's no way I was going to beat out Feldman, if I knew who I was up against, because it's
Right.
like he's a veteran at that point, and he nailed that. He had a groove on that part, so. And actually, I didn't expect to get it. I didn't expect to get it because it was my first, but it was exciting.
Well, it is exciting, and having the opportunity to do that, and it seems like you and Feldman really do have that everlasting friendship. It's like you may not see each other all the time, but when you guys do get together, like I brought up before, that Lost Girls video, I mean, everything just clicks with the two of you, and you play off of each other so well. That's why I truly hope that we can figure out something to get together and do this ghost hunt to get you a true experience.
Yeah, or
And
even a podcast, having you guys do a podcast would be awesome. I'd listen.
the two of you,
Right, actually, we should do that. I mean, and I mean, doing ghost hunting together would be fun because because I had to go to the bathroom every second when we filmed that thing, we missed out on what could have been some fun banter.
well, there was a scene that you had come back and they had a pair of glasses they were in a bathroom doing something. They had a pair of glasses sitting on the toilet. They're like, well, we just need to bring you into the scene.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's great.
I must have missed that one.
It's like you gotta take your knocks. You get.
Oh,
if I'm gonna be-
totally.
I rip on people enough. I like make fun of. I mean, in a funny way. Like I'll be like hanging out with friends, and that's part of my humor is to kind of rip on people rip on my friends in a clever way, whatever, and back. You got to take it if you're gonna dish it out. So.
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, the chemistry you guys have is very iconic, and it's very fun to see.
There really is something special between me and Feldman in terms of our chemistry. Like, it was right from the beginning. And, that's something I just realized, going back to the summer of '86 show, that I was like, there's that moment where enter Corey Feldman, and all of a sudden we're just talking. I'm just talking to this guy who was in Goonies, and but he's just this kid, just like me,
Yeah.
and so I think in my Summer of '86 show, I think I'm even gonna do my best impression of Feldman, like dress up how he dressed up, and maybe even I'm hoping I can even ask his advice, like watch me and like tell me, how to act,
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That'd be cool.
So do you have a favorite memory of shooting The Lost Boys, or, any kind of memorable fun things that would happen behind the scenes that other people might not be aware of?
Yeah, so let me think about this here. Like, there's a lot of things that stick out as like amazing things that just sort of those moments were like changed my life in certain ways. And I think that Offset, there's a moment that keeps coming back to me where I mean I get emotional thinking about it because it's so much a part of that experience. When I flew up with Feldman, and checked into the hotel and and everything like that, and it was like, okay, here we are, like this is, we're at the
This is
hotel.
happening.
Yeah, this is happening, and here I am hanging out with Corey Feldman. Then he's like, "You want to go see Haim? You want to gonna go meet Corey Haim?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go meet Corey Haim." Like so, and I think that's probably that. So we went into, and I think I described this on another show as well. So this isn't, we don't have the first take on this, unfortunately, but it's going to be slightly different, But it's like that room, the vampires were hanging out there. Billy Wirth, Brooke McCarter, I think those guys, and like they're sort of, maybe they had a little bit of an entourage, and those guys were, I mean, those guys, I don't even know if they were partying or if they were just like New Yorkers, or I mean, Billy Wirth being like, hey, let me get a coffee. It's like like
Yeah.
this New York accent, and here I am hanging out with Corey Haim. Like I'd just seen Lucas, like not too long before, and I thought he was awesome, and wanted to work with him, and here we are, hanging out. I think that was a really memorable moment, and
Oh, I'm sure.
And some other stuff at the hotel as well, which it's starting to come up again because I'm going up to the hotel. I'm gonna in June. I'm gonna be staying at that hotel when I go up to
Oh.
Santa Cruz.
Oh, that's right. You did mention that. I
So-
just
so
couldn't
there's-
imagine the nostalgia with it. And
Yeah.
I mean, what a great group of people. And, and like even the Coreys, they were plotted against each other in Hollywood. They were
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
kind of plotted against each other. And then they had this thing with both of them dating the same girl or something. You were talking about, or an interview with Corey Feldman, talking about how he was sitting in the casting room or whatever, and they're like, okay, well, let's call Corey. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm right here. And then when he found out it was the other Corey, he was kind of like, ooh. But then he said what really changed his mind on it is he got home and he had a voicemail from Corey Haim saying, hey, dude, we're going to be in the same movie. Let's hang out. Let's do this. And yeah, very cool.
And I have that voicemail. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, really?
Yeah,
That
that'd
would
be
be
something.
amazing. But yeah, so there's just so many different, I mean, all three of you, just like I said, the chemistry, and then the chemistry with the older actors too. Even though most of the other vampires really don't say all that much, they added so much to the film
Yeah,
too.
yeah. In fact,
So
I've been known to say on panels that I didn't realize that it was so much about the vampires, because
Oh.
in the script it really wasn't. It was like, if you look at the lines were the Emersons and us, and Kiefer
Yeah.
had some lines, but
yeah,
the vampires, Billy Wirth, I think, just says, right. We might have talked about this. He says he missed Sucka, and then
Yeah.
something else, some other little thing. I forget what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
they don't-
remember too, but
yeah, they don't have a lot of lines,
Yeah, and
but
like
the
Alex Winter's
impact,
like,
I think.
yeah, Alex Winter's like, hey, Michael, like on the bridge, whatever, like that's almost all he says, I think,
Yeah.
They'll do like the little laughing and like hitting each other, like, on the carousel and in the video shop and stuff. They got the bad boy persona, but yeah, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's just, but they don't even show them as vampires until 40 minutes in. I think it is.
Is that what it is? 40 minutes? Yeah, that's
I think it's like 40 minutes before they actually show them as vampires.
Yeah, it's like we draw them in as like these are these bad boy, cool guys, sexy, man, guys that you want to hang, bikers that you want to hang out with, and it's like no. In fact, these guys are
Those
killers.
guys.
Well, and I think the thing that I was really glad that we did is when we went, that was our first con that we went to, that we met you and Chance and V. And I really didn't know, the schedule wasn't really kind of clear. And we had just kind of stumbled on that there was panels, and we went down and we listened to the panel with you and V and Chance, and getting a lot of that behind the scenes stuff and V's take on, how they originally wanted the vampires to look.
Right.
And then
That was cool. Yeah.
how she changed, kind of, that she wanted it to be not as like, scary and gory. And then, like the contacts that they were wearing, they could only wear for so long because they were those thick,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
had to wear those in the, was it
In the Thirst.
in the Thirst? Yeah.
Yeah. But by the time I had them, the technology was much better. I mean,
Different.
this was
Yeah.
like cutting edge technology, which was like basically cutting a ping pong ball in half and sticking it in their eye. I think it may have even been, it probably wasn't half a ping pong ball, but it was like that. It might have even been thicker than that, in their eyes.
Well, they were the
Yeah, so-
hard contacts, and that was
Yeah.
something that people wore.
and full
I
coverage.
couldn't
too.
imagine.
It was like, it was fully around their eye. It wasn't,
Oh,
it was like a half sphere kind of thing.
right.
Ouch.
Oh,
A big
wow.
thing. Yeah, and they had to hang upside down, and like sand, from the cave. Supposedly we kicked sand in Alex Winter's eyes when because I mean, I don't think it was me. I think it was Feldman. But but
You did it. You did it.
but it's like when he fell, they were kind of wanting us to kick at him, like because it's like what are these kids gonna do? They're not just gonna let him, they're just gonna
Right.
be kicking at him. And so I think
Right.
that's what had happened, and he had to go to the emergency room.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think he got a scratched cornea. It's like you get a little piece of sand in something that's already messed up like that, and
Oh, yeah.
ER
If I
soon.
get something underneath my soft contacts that I wear today, it's a little tiny piece of whatever will feel like you got a boulder in your eye.
Right, even if I get something on my glasses, it messes me up.
Yeah, it's tough. So speaking of like the Tribe and the Thirst, I know that now I'm gonna mix them up. The Tribe was the second one, right?
Yeah,
And the
I
Thirst
remember
was-
is like the Thirst is like the third, Third.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I think they were kind of getting at.
So in the Tribe, they had talked about bringing you back, bringing you back, bringing you back. Then you did shoot a scene, but then it ended up being a cut scene, which was a good thing because then you were able to form that character in the Thirst
Right.
and have that reunion with Corey in that movie. Do you have any memories or anything that you want to discuss on those two films?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Thirst, I mean, the second one, the Tribe, even though it was like, in my opinion, the scene was, too cheesy, maybe it's just kind of not well thought through, and so I'm happy it went to as you said, it's like, I'm happy it went to the special features, but doing it was a lot of fun, showing up on set. It was like Lost Boys. Here we are on the set of Lost Boys again. Like I got a call from the, the production coordinator, and it was like, I'm calling from the set of Lost Boys, it's like, that was cool, just that.
Yeah.
But then also I saw Haim there, and Feldman, and was Feldman there? Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering actually.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know if he was
the
there.
kid goes to Feldman for help or something, or
Yeah, the girl goes to Feldman. He's kind of,
Oh, right. She's like,
Um,
it's your brother or whatever. Oh no, she or something like that.
yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, Feldman is in it.
He
yeah,
might
that
not
one
have
I
been
haven't
shooting with
seen
us.
as many times.
Yeah, I've only watched that one once or twice, I think.
He might not have been. Oh no, he was there. He was there. That's right. Because some of it was captured on the Two Coreys, the second season of the Two Coreys,
Okay.
that reality show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was a lot. I thought that was a lot of fun, doing that. But it was also a little bit like, I was like, a little skeptical that it was going to work, And so, but the Thirst, wow, the Thirst was amazing. We went to South Africa for the Thirst. We filmed that in Cape Town, South Africa, and it was just a lot of fun. We were there for 6 weeks. I mean, I was there with my 1-year-old kid and my wife,
Oh,
and
wow.
so that was like not a great choice, I think, to bring our 1-year-old. I think it would have been better to stay home. But it was like we just had this kid, and it was like, I don't know, we're gonna be away from him for six weeks, and like, so we totally threw off his sleep schedule, but we had some good times there. Like, can you imagine? We had just gotten him sleeping well, and then 12-hour time difference and two 12-hour flights. Like,
Oh
not good.
man.
No. But it's child abuse, basically. But, and also, somewhere I have videos. I have to find it on this computer. I think I have some videos. I was going to do a video blog because I thought it was easy to do a video blog, so I just shot the videos, but I never really put the blog together. But I got to find those videos from the Thirst. There's some good videos of me like practicing with the katanas and things like that.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So it was sort of like going to. I mean, it's kind of like going to Santa Monica, actually. Like it was like that same kind of vibe. It was by the ocean. It was really nice area and stuff. And yeah, it was a pretty grueling schedule. Like, I think I got off the plane and they handed me a cell phone and I was like due on set, like, kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, or it was, to do like a fight. It wasn't to shoot, because you can't really shoot on the same day that you fly, but
Right.
to do like a fight rehearsal where I was
Jeez.
flying, like just having flown in from LA, like all of a sudden I'm on a wire,
Man, that'd be brutal.
Right.
And so, I did some of the wire work, and I learned all the fights. They taught me all the fights, and I got cheers from other people while I was rehearsing on set, because I did a pretty good job. I thought I had stage combat in college, so, but then they had the stunt guys do it.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I know. I got to set and they were like, no, we're almost finished shooting it. I'm like, great. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Go figure.
Well, and I love, like, with your talent in watching, Jeremy and I have been revisiting over the past few months, have been revisiting a lot of your films and stuff. And I mean, you've had, The Blob, The Bone Tomahawk, Love's Last Resort, The Tale of Two Coreys. I haven't watched that one. I couldn't find.
I couldn't find it either. I actually spent like a day and a half trying to find it.
Really?
And
And then
it's
we
like
watched.
nobody
I
has
play a
it.
cop in that. I play the cop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have The Walking Nightmare, and
Right.
there was
Waking.
another Waking Nightmare, excuse me. But like Bone Tomahawk, we touched on a little bit. You played the mayor in there, but your ability to take on these different characters and the personality that you bring in, it's just like with the mayor, it was kind of that, the wife is kind of the domineering and Kurt Russell's talking to her instead of you. And, and then you're just kind of like the humor of, does anybody know how to spell? Yeah. It was just, I love that. And then in Love's Last Resort, how did you prep for having to do the French accent? Is it just something that came to you? Did you have to do some dialect training, or?
That was one of my questions.
I did, I was in French in high school. I took French, and
Okay.
and I had a particularly good accent. My accent saved me in a little bit, because I wasn't as good a student in French as I could have been. So having a good accent, my teacher like gave me a little extra, like a little leeway, and then even I was supposed to do I was sort of preparing to do a kind of a competition speaking French, kind of, you memorize something in high school kind of thing. We ended up not doing it, but so I had a little bit of basis there.
Okay.
And then I watched Little Mermaid, that scene. Is it Little Mermaid?
Yes.
Poisson, des poissons,
Yeah.
And then, there it is, from there.
Yeah, that was, I just watched The Love's Last Resort. Probably was it a few days before our last time we were together. And I
Nice.
was just like, he just nails this. And then your personality and just the way that, I mean, like she comes in, she's like, well, I'm a doctor. And then the woman has that issue and you're like, you're a doctor. You it was just great. I loved it. And it was fun to, to see these different roles. But then you've got the Waking Nightmare, right?
Yeah, Waking
I
Nightmares.
keep saying it wrong. That
It's supposed to confuse you. I think
movie,
it's because it's about walking, sleepwalking.
yeah, that movie was insane.
Yeah.
Right?
Trippy.
I love that movie.
You
Yeah.
you were just this it totally twisted in a way that I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't
But
see that coming. Man,
no.
that was
And
they're
your
all
character,
involved?
yeah, your
So
character
yeah,
was
that's a question I guess I wanted to ask is like, so was the girl actually involved at all, or was it just the parents?
It's
Because
funny.
it's like,
I don't even know actually. I mean, the funny thing about it is that they actually changed the ending after in the
oh,
editing,
did they?
and
Okay.
they added the scene, like the scene where I stop her from torturing that guy. That wasn't me. Actually, they just had my wardrobe, because they went back and they were like, they wanted to change it. They wanted to give it more of a twist, I think, something like that. And so, for me, I just kind of thought, where I was playing it was just that, like, that kind of dad where, like, stuff's going on, but you just really don't want to get involved, like, or like maybe you get involved, but you get involved to just sort of solve it, or to sort of take care of something, but you don't want to like get too wound up with it, kind of thing. That's kind of where I was coming from.
well, I loved the scene that one of my favorite scenes in that movie, I think, with you was when the mom and daughter were on the floor
Yeah,
fighting.
fighting. Yeah. And
And
then
you
dad
kind of
walks in.
walk in
Oh,
and you're like eating your chips, shrug your shoulders, and walk. I was like, it was so perfect. Like,
That's so
all
cool.
right,
I love that. Thank you.
yeah,
yeah,
that was a good scene.
that was a very good scene. But yeah, that movie,
Well, in that scene,
Jeremy and I just kept,
the thing about that scene is that the chip thing was just something that just happened. It was like, we're kind of trying to establish, how to, get it across, that I'm not going to engage, whatever. And then it just made sense to just eat the chip and continue walking, So it's like, it's sort of the magic of movie making. It's kind of thing you don't necessarily put in a script. You don't know that that's going to be that magic moment, So
Yeah.
right.
I dug it.
But yeah,
But also,
we
I mean,
just kept,
also watching Diane Franklin and Shelley Rainier just like going to town on that kitchen floor, just like that was really impressive. Watching that live was really impressive.
I'm
Oh,
sure. But yeah, that movie, definitely go watch it. It has lots of twists and turns, and you'll be like, wait, what?
Yeah,
It's
definitely that ending got me because it was like, you're kind of like cool, laid back, fun dad. And you're thinking, well, this guy doesn't know anything that's going on. It's just the mom and the daughter. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, holy, he's a part of it too. My God. Yeah, it
like
was
this
awesome.
family, Yeah, I want a
Yeah.
sequel. I was hoping it gets, got more momentum and we could get a sequel. Kind of find out what was really going on.
Yeah.
In a way, they did it well. It's sort of like Schumacher. It's like the same sort of trick as Schumacher. Just kind of convincing me for a little while that we're just tough. I mean, that it's like not even, don't play the comedy. Don't even, he didn't even mention the word comedy. It's like we're just tough. As Frog Brothers. So it's like
Yeah.
in a way, the directors Brian and Steven, they in a way did the same thing. They had me, playing this dad who was trying to stay out of it, when in actuality they were going to have me very much involved. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that kind of dry humor to it, in that scene that kind of gets you. It's like, well, I'm not, no part of this. I'm out of
Right.
here.
Yeah. So then we watched that movie the one night. The next night we watched Mr. Manhattan. Then you got a completely different role. You're the lawyer. And in that movie, that is such a love, lighthearted love. And I think we talked about it a little bit, but it's just so fun to see your personality and the talent you have coming out in all of these different roles. And I'm very excited to see what you got coming up. And I think everybody should just get you out there and get going with it. I know there was one podcast that I listened to. I can't remember the name of it. It's a bigger podcast. The one guy, he's an older guy. He's an actor.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Jimmy.
Jimmy Star.
Yeah, Jimmy Star. Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah,
And
it's like
he's
hook
like
me up.
just
Hook me up.
yeah, they're like, we're gonna get you on the list. But you want to talk about old school Hollywood. he's like, you can't even flirt with the girls or the guys anymore, and you can't say this or that. And you could hear there was like this uncomfortable silence when he was talking about certain ways that they used to be able to talk to people. And
Right.
it's like that's not not okay these days. It was kind of funny, but he's total old school Hollywood.
Yeah, it's fun to joke about that difference, but it's like if you're really trying to bring it back, I don't know if I'm in favor of that,
Right. But yeah, he was that was a fun interview as well.
What I'm, right now in this sort of stage of it all is like it's tricky because Hollywood's not as strong as it was maybe even just a few years ago. That it's like it's sort of diaspora of filmmaking, out across the country, which is positive in a lot of other ways. But I've been really trying to, it's like, all of these roles. First of all, I appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment about, being able to do different characters. It's my favorite thing to do as an actor is to just be a totally different character, and figure out what that's like and see how that affects how I say these lines. And, because it's like the thing about acting, oh no, I'm going to get emotional when I talk about this, but the thing about acting is that there is a kind of a spiritual side to it, I think, where really channeling personalities, channeling people, channeling characters. And so I just find that to be really fun, to do different types of characters, and and then have a character like, kind of like nutty, like the French waiter, and then, and then have something that's very genuine, there's some of the scenes I had with Shelley and Waking Nightmare, very genuine father, connection and stuff. And just trying to give each role its own due, is my favorite thing, And so I've been these roles, these different roles. It's like I've been really kind of clawing my way back from, taking time doing theater in New York and having a family and, different things that happen in life, kind of clawing my way back to being like, hey guys, remember that I'm here and remember I can do a good job here. Like I could really elevate a movie or a show. And I'm trying to get people to see that. So I appreciate you saying that because I want to do more work. I want to be one of those actors like Michael Caine, and like, who's just doing all kinds of movies.
Well, and you touched on theater and stuff a little bit. We haven't really touched on that. You've had such a diverse career. You not only filmed TV, but you were on stage. You were an award-winning playwright for Remember This. Is there a particular role or performance in theater or even voice acting that holds a special place for you or something that really stuck with you?
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun doing theater in New York and around the country and stuff. And so many of those roles were just kind of out there and kind of lost forever now. But things that I felt, really good at that. I would say theater wise, I did some shows when I was at Actors Theater of Louisville. I was in the company there, and there were some roles there that I did that I really loved. I really dug, and also when I was doing Lost Boys, in high school I was doing Elephant Man. I was playing the Elephant Man, and I got a lot of praise for that. It was really nice, and because it wasn't Alan Frog, it was, in the play The Elephant Man, it's like there's no makeup or anything. It's just a physical. I got to find the tape somewhere, and it was some nice work, not just me, but my fellow classmates and the guy who was our drama teacher. We really put a lot of heart into it, and it was a really nice show, and so that's really memorable for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've had, like I said, you've done a lot of different things and you've done everything so well.
Go.
Well, and then I remember, I don't think we've mentioned this, but I brought up that you went to school at Beverly Hills High, which you're going to school with a bunch of people who are wanting to have an acting career or have something, in the celebrity type role. But the one thing I remember hearing you talk about so fondly was knowing how you knew that you had an audition. Your mom's car, you even remember the model of it just being at the bottom of the hill. So you'd come out of school and see your mom's car at the bottom of the hill, and you'd know that day you had an audition. And what a fun memory. And that she made it that special, that she probably didn't even realize at the time that would be such a special memory for you.
Yeah. I don't. my mom is sharp in those ways, so it's possible she did. But I think it was just like trying to, and she was excited. She was excited. And it's like, Beverly at the time, it's changed a bit because they're using some of that space. But at the time, you could come out of class, and there was this long this lawn, this sort of rolling lawn all the way down to the street. And that was it. I'd be walking down those stairs, see her car there, this blue CRX. I don't know if you can picture a CRX. Like it's like it was like Honda's version of a Porsche.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just was super exciting. And that's when I mean, I can picture her saying it, about the body, when I got that audition, being like, she was so awesome. She was like, you have an audition for a feature film today, holding the script in her hand. It was really special memories.
Yeah, that'd be
That's
cool.
awesome. I love that. That just like brought tears to my eye listening to the nostalgia of that,
Yeah, I was doing some searching the other day ago before we had the first interview, and I wanted to see your AT&T commercial,
Yes.
and so I start to play it. I find it on YouTube, and I'm watching. I'm like, I remember that commercial. So that thing
Right.
must have been pretty big too, huh? That
Yeah,
commercial.
that commercial was big. They played on the Emmys, I think,
Okay.
that year, and then they also made it into another commercial. It was like also part of a clip commercial of all their
yeah.
clips, of all
I
their
think I
commercials.
remember that one too.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
I love that commercial.
I do
You know,
too. It
Yeah.
just brings back so many memories. I mean, picking up the phone, hanging it up,
well, and then
And,
seeing your you about to call that girl. I mean, I had that moment in time too. I was about the same age, so it was kind of like seeing you do it and thinking, okay, maybe I can do this. I can call her.
so cool. I'm glad that it hit you that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the kind of thing where like doing commercials was always like everybody wants to do commercials because it made so much money on a commercial, and so, but I wasn't I wasn't that guy. Like that commercial I got because it's more acting. It's like I could be this
Yeah.
character, this guy, and I was in an improv group at the time called You Gotta Be Kidding was our name, and which was a lot of fun, really talented group of kids, and I had done that scene in the improv of calling girl, and and everybody loved it. So when I was on, went to the waiting room and they described it, I was like, oh, go.
I got this.
So, and they loved it from the beginning. I was like, to the point where I did it, and then they were just pairing other girls, the sisters with me. It's like it's like I pretty much knew I had it pretty early on. It was really great feeling.
Well, and having the iconic bratty little sister too,
Right. Yeah.
Well, and then after he found that commercial, he found the Pearl Vision commercial too.
Yeah.
That one was great too. Show her getting all ready for prom and showing up, and then here's Jamison at the door, the prom date.
Yeah, then it's like she's like self-conscious about having glasses, so they get her contacts,
And then you have glasses on.
Yeah, I think the one that I found, they must have cut something out because it didn't seem like it was the complete commercial,
Interesting.
I
might have it on my website. It might be on my website.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, like
definitely have
on the
to
front of
look.
my website, there's like just like a bunch of pictures of my.
Oh yeah, I think maybe it is a full one then, but it seems like in the original one, weren't you like trying on glasses too, or was it just her
I don't
character?
think so. I don't think so.
Okay, maybe
I think
I'm
it was just-
misremembering it.
I think the
It might
only
have been
shot
part
I
of the
did.
Mandela.
Yeah, Mandela, or the fact that I'm old. I can't remember.
But you're my age, so you're not old.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, we're young chickens.
We all are. We
But I
just
can
keep getting
remember-
younger and younger.
Yeah, no, I feel younger. I mean, I feel younger. I feel younger than I did 10 years ago, actually. I mean, because I was in the middle of having little kids then, so it's like,
Yeah, that'll do it.
But I think, on that commercial, I remember it being like, it was my first real gig, that commercial, that Pearl Vision. I think. Yeah, I think it's my first professional gig. And I just didn't know. I was like, all they want me to do is just stand there. Like, because in the audition, I did various things, but all they wanted me to do is just show up and smile, and I was like, cool, like that's it.
Easy
Like,
I got,
money.
I got this. I can smile.
yeah. And then, that commercial paid for everything, that commercial set. It was like I was playing on the town's money after that. It's like,
Right.
I pictures and acting classes and everything. It's like, it made it so that I wasn't like, hey, Dad, can I get some money for some pictures?
Yeah, it seems like commercials are kind of finding their way back to the big stars now. Like
yeah,
ba- back in the early 90s and stuff, you didn't really see any of the like A-listers doing commercials, but now you're like seeing Brad Pitt doing commercials and
yeah.
so
Yeah, it was that case with TV also. I mean, and smaller roles also. That a lot of the big actors are coming into those roles. Those used to just be done by, journeyman actors.
is that
Right.
is that just because kind of Hollywood is changing in general, or
I think it's a few things. I think it's number one, filming isn't the same way anymore. Where you like, I think it used to be like if you were on a sitcom, you had to just be on that show because it took all that time to kind of put it together. It took the whole week to put it together, and then the next week you were doing another one, and so it was. And so I don't think so. You could kind of like either couldn't be on other shows, or they didn't want you on other shows. They would contract you to just do that show, and so I think there's that piece of it that people can do. Like, someone's on a hit show, they may be on 3 or 4 other shows. I mean, like Will Arnett, is a good example. Like he's on everything.
yeah.
It's great. I mean, and so I think there's that, and then also the fact that there aren't as many roles, there aren't as many projects as there were back then. I think, and so the bigger stars. I mean, that's where the bread and butter is, and you know. And I think
Well,
also
it's
audiences too. I think audiences want to see the stars.
well, and it seems like a lot of these streaming services are now creating their own movies and stuff like that too. And
Yeah,
so you have a lot of people that are doing Netflix movies and, Paramount or, whatever. It seems like a lot of them are actually putting out their own movies instead of having them be in the movie theaters and stuff now
yeah,
too.
totally.
Which is sad because the movie theater's dying off. I mean, there's so many that after COVID closing and stuff like that, that was such a nostalgic thing of my past, going to the movies and,
Yeah, I'm hoping something shifts and movies start to become popular again. That's kind of my
I
thought.
think it could. I mean, like you're saying, like commercials. Talking about commercials, like we're watching commercials again. It's like even on streaming. It's like that whole. So some of the old models might be coming back, and I also saw this thing like Tiny Cinema. Have you seen this thing? It's like a little trailer that like someone brings it around and then plays a movie. It's just like a few seats in it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that kind of thing happens. Where I mean, we do have to go out and do things. It's like people want to go out and do things, even though so much. It's so great to watch a movie at home too. So it's like
it is.
that's what we're up against. I like to do it. But the ritual of going out and stuff and going to a movie is just really special. I think that's what
it kind of does seem like the trend is changing a little bit. The last couple of years it's been like nobody wants to leave their house, but now it seems like people are starting to miss that nostalgia of going to the movie theater, seeing the movie posters and stuff. And, I know I do, and unfortunately for us, we work a lot. So, usually we don't get to movie theaters too often, but
Well, I even, remember being a kid going into the video store, and it was always the challenge to see who could get their name put on the posters to be able to bring home, because you could buy them for $5, and if you were the first one, once they put them up for sale, you could get those posters, and you'd have those movie posters in your room, and just that. I just loved that. I miss the video stores.
Yeah, the
I'm
video
okay with
stores
those being good.
that was another interesting era, like cool era, where it was like all of a sudden you had access to all these movies, but you had to go out and get it and everything, and there was a whole other income stream for the industry too. It was
Oh, totally. I mean, I love being able to stream everything at home, but I think I just missed that nostalgia. Like on the weekends, I used to take my kids, to Mr. Movies, and they'd have the previously viewed movies where you could buy two, get two free or something. And then we'd go
Right.
home and have a movie marathon.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our like
Yeah.
entertainment, our America's entertainment, more than America, but it's like something we created here, that genuine.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on the pipeline that you can share with us or?
The things I'm focusing on right now are the one man show and the and Lost Locations, my
Lost
YouTube
Locations
show.
is amazing.
Cool. Thank you. And because also it's like we're going to maybe move into other territory, like trying to get that the Poganip, the grandpa's house, maybe the effort to get that rebuilt. And as we're approaching the 40th, we may kind of cover that stuff a little bit with the show. So that's where like my kind of that energy is. I'm not there's a bunch of things where, like the Frog Brothers show, and there's a couple other things that I'm trying to develop and trying to pitch. Nothing worth talking about yet because it's not necessarily happening, but a bunch of things like that, and auditioning and trying to get into a new horror franchise or some other cool movie kind of thing. So
Didn't
those are
you
the
have
things
a
I got
movie
going.
coming out this year or something?
So not yet. No, I think the movie I did last year came out already, and
Oh,
so
okay.
I haven't yet filmed something this year. No, nothing's officially coming out yet, but
Okay.
working on it.
Yeah.
But look
Well,
out for
I'm
that one man
excited to
show,
see.
and also if Santa Cruz is becoming more of like a place where I'm going a bunch, and I'm trying to do like a tour there, for people when they come in town. But like on June 13th, which is when we think the movie is going to be on the beach. They haven't announced it yet, I don't think, but I'm pretty sure based on when they normally do it. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to meet people on the boardwalk and meet people at Atlantis Fantasy World and stuff. So that kind of thing.
Well, you got to come back to Minnesota soon.
Yes, I want to come back to Minnesota.
And we've got to make a trip out to California because I want to definitely
Yeah.
go. I have never been
Yeah,
to
I
Santa
was just
Cruz.
trying to look at the calendar to see when June 13th was.
Yeah,
Because
and, so it's June 13th, and then we're going to do something later in the year too. Either the week that the movie came out, which is like around the end of July, or sometime in October for like Halloween kind of thing. Going to do another Santa Cruz thing. So if you miss the June 13th one,
Okay.
or June 12th at the comic book store, you might be able to catch one later in the year.
Yeah, June 13th is on a Friday. So, I mean,
Ooh.
if
Friday
we
the
got
13th.
somebody to do the daycares Wednesday, we could fly out on Thursday.
Ooh, go to Cali again. I've only been there once.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we do at night. We clean commercial property. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
really
Really?
hard to get days off because we're
Yeah.
pretty much there 5 days a week,
Totally. I can see that being the kind of thing where you just got to be there. Do it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
there's no
we
no
could probably
missing
make it
those days.
happen though.
Yeah,
Yeah, I dig
call
it.
the
If
kids.
you can. Yeah. And there'll be opportunities over the next couple of years as we approach the 40th, for like
Okay.
Santa Cruz. Hopefully it will be trying to make that a little bit more of a gathering place,
Okay.
for Lost Boys fans.
I
I
love
love
it.
Santa Cruz.
I
great
can't wait
town.
to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
It looks very. It doesn't look like it's changed all that much.
Oh,
I mean, in certain ways it has, but there's a lot that's very similar to how it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see it. All right. Do you have anything else you want to share? Or another thing is make sure we have you tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I got a few places you can find me. My YouTube channel is Jamison611. This is what I kind of chose at the time, but so find me on YouTube. That's where the Lost Location show is being posted. But you can find, I usually, sort of, I think I probably spend the most time on Instagram. So I'm just Jamison
Okay.
Newlander on Instagram. I think I'm Jamison Newlander. I think on Twitter I'm Jamison Newlander 1. I mean not Twitter, TikTok. I'm Jamison Newlander 1. So basically YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and then my website is jamisonnewlander.com. And that's actually starting to be have some more value as I'm doing stuff in Santa Cruz. I'm going to be posting on there and different types of things. And the one man show updates will be on there and stuff. So check me out there.
And then
Okay.
you have a merch shop as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. My Shopify site, which I I think it's
That's attached to your website too, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So you can get to it from there. And then convention wise, I'll be at a few different conventions. The first one I have coming up is at the end of May in Tennessee, Smoky Mountain TerraCon. So
Will we
I'll be
make
there,
it
and
out
then a
to your
couple
mom's
different places
house?
throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have my mom come out there and meet you.
She's in Tennessee.
Nice. Tennessee, cool.
Yep.
I won't be. Well, yeah, she could do it.
Yeah.
She's a fan too, so
She
Is
is.
she really? Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The original Lost Boys fan. She was the one who let you go to the movie.
Yeah.
Teenager.
Yeah, she actually called us right after, shortly after our first interview with you. And I told her that who we interviewed, and she's like, "You're kidding." She was like so excited.
So sweet.
It was very fun.
But yeah, we'll post all your socials in our show notes and stuff, so people
Definitely.
can find you.
And
Brilliant,
everybody get
brilliant.
out there and follow him and check out Lost Locations, check out some of the movies that he's done recently and in the past as well.
Yeah,
And
good stuff and educational.
very.
You got to know your Lost Boys history. It's very important.
It is very important.
Yeah, come get your Lost Boys history.
Yeah. And buy some merch.
Definitely
Yeah,
buy
check out some merch. I
merch.
got some good merch. I got the airborne shirt. I recreated that and
Yeah,
got a
some
couple
signatures
of
on there, and
Autograph stuff, the coasters, and
yeah.
trading cards.
Yeah, those trading cards. Yeah, I'm loving those trading cards. That's fun. I might make one for Waking Nightmare, actually, even though it's not as big as the other ones. But I think just to round out my horror movies, to have.
there you go.
Well, I think that movie, if people, I think that one could potentially be something that gains some momentum because it is
I'm glad you said that.
crazy.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but we'll make sure to, like Jeremy said, include all the links and everything. And I know we have our Jeremy's Airborne shirt should be here hopefully this week.
Yeah, I was
think.
hoping it was here today because I was gonna wear it, but still ain't here.
It would be cool. I got to sell the beret as well, but it's hard.
Oh, I
for
would buy
sure.
one of those.
He actually
I still have
mentioned
to
he
get
was
the
like,
better beret.
Jeremy actually said that before we started recording the first time. He's like, "Should we go get some berets?"
I was gonna go full Alan Frog.
He was.
Yeah.
I love it. I would have dug it.
Yeah, so I settled for this shirt today.
What the duck?
What
It's
the
good. Wait,
duck?
let me see. Mike. Yeah, I remember that. That's the duck from the Duck song. Is that?
I'm not sure. I just funny shirt.
I don't know. There's a duck, the Duck song on when my kids were little. The iPhone just came out, and there's this song that by this duck. Like the duck walked up to the lemonade stand. And it's just funny, dumb little thing. Anyway, but
I love those fun songs.
It's good. I'm so glad I ran into you guys in the elevator, and then we became elevator friends, and it's just been
Elevator
awesome talking to you
buddies.
all.
It's
Yeah,
been so
that's
fun to get to know you and to see all these things that you've been doing. And I mean, I have to say, you are just, you always think of celebrities being like, totally untouchable. You can't communicate, you can't, whatever, or having a chip on their shoulder. But you are such an amazing person. You have such great personality and you're so welcoming. And, we're so honored to have you do this with us.
And an amazing actor.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm the everyman actor. So
Everyman
are.
actor. Yeah.
Well,
Our-
and hopefully we can make it out to something that you have going on soon. And hopefully we can try to figure out something because I really want to do that ghost hunt.
sounds good. Yeah, I'm up for all of it, and I'll try and loop Feldman in. He'll be like, yeah, like last time. You can get out of that.
Well, we'll bring some Imodium this time.
All right,
Just in
Jamison.
case. Well, again, Jamison, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure and so much fun.
Yeah. Thanks for being such a cool dude and being on our podcast.
You bet. Thanks for being cool.
All
Cool
right.
place to be. Awesome.
Thanks, Jamison. We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.